Did you see New York Times like Gottheimer write an essay about how Dems are scared of publicly condemning you? According to him, they're only privately worried about you. I'm a Democrat. My party has a double standard on anti-Semitism. Josh Gottheimer. Bro, are you for fucking real? Bro, this guy is unbelievable. What are you doing, man? There is unprecedented crises in the world, and this motherfucker is writing an article about how Democrats must condemn a fucking Twitch streamer who maintains the majority position on Israel, okay? The overwhelming majority position on Israel across the board in the party and also beyond the party.
On one side, the flag...
They say people don't trust anchors with ties anymore, and that's why they trust Hassan. And then they immediately show, I guess, a photo of me in a tie. Wow. Josh Gottheimer, unbelievable. Golden Kappa train incoming, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, the #1 radicalizing function in independent media. Support independent media, ladies and gentlemen, folks, boys, girls, MBs. The Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. There's a Golden Kappa train happening right now. You can also gift a sub to many others, or you can subscribe for free with a Twitch Prime, or for $6 a month with a regular subscription. A subscription will allow you to send me links with no guarantees that I will click on them, or it will give you the happiness that you know that you are subscribing to independent media. Democrats privately disgusted by Hassan Piker but are afraid to publicly criticize him House Dem claims. Dude, that's so funny. They're privately disgusted. Let me tell you what they're privately saying, okay? I can tell you what they're privately saying. They're privately saying, thank God there's someone out there who's fucking saying the things that some of us are maybe a little afraid to say. Or at least that's the attitude I got from the many people I spoke to that weren't all like superstar celebrities or anything. They're just like regular folks as well. I had $10 in my bank and resub. Never say I don't love you. Dude, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that if you have $10 remaining. Shani DeVito, thank you for the 5 gifted. Ian Tattoos, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. God damn. He's here. Missed you. I can't face a Monday without you on a Sunday. Yeah, if you got the Sunday scaries, let me make it scarier for you. Dude, what's up with my fucking haters, dude? This is literally... Like, this is when random YouTube slop tubers would say Hassan has like blackmail on the Twitch CEO or something. And then like they're doing, Josh Gottheimer is a literal fucking congressional representative in the Democratic Party in New Jersey. Okay. And he's saying that like Democrats are terrified of me, but they can't say it out loud, but they all, they're disgusted by me. What the fuck? I know it's Mother's Day, but you didn't have to go live for me. Yes, I went live for all the mothers on this beautiful day, on this glorious day. What a fucking insane thing. I mean, look, I'm honored. I'm honored to be just even mentioned, really. I think you are, perhaps you are creating an environment of fear for yourself. Not to lower the temperature here, but, Gottheimer, Israel first, Dem claims Dems are scared of me, but can't say it publicly. In the New York Times, Sunday Fun Day, Mom's Day, get in now. www.twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Cogman 10. God damn, thank you for the 25, get the subs. And Extra Rice, thank you for the 5, give the subs. Stop lying about Fun Day. I think they're getting desperate and don't want you to collab with politicians. Yeah, I find it really fucking funny. I don't know why they think I got this level of motion. Some of the top comments I get when I go out in public is from people who are, famous, ordinary folks alike, is always like, thank you for putting on the fucking good fight. The Democrats are literally not doing what needs to be done. I mean, this was like the comments in general, people checking in, being like, I hope you're okay. I know it's like fucking hectic. I know it's crazy. But then outside of that, the question I keep getting is like, are you running? Are you going to run? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not interested in running for office. I'm not interested in running for office at all in any way, shape, or form. I don't know why the media is presenting it as though I am for some fucking weird reason, but I'm not. Anyway, that's your sign to run. We don't care if you want to. No, that's not my sign to run. It's not going to happen. Okay. But I just, oh God, this fucking thing is so annoying. You are more interested to run than to game? Okay, fair. But that doesn't mean that I'm interested in running. That just means that I'm never gaming. You know, I'm not interested in gaming. That's all that means. I need you to understand. They're calling you president of the blast off. I already blasted off with that. Okay, I already did. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let the people know we're live. We're freaking alive. Why should I believe what a politician says? Yeah, I'm not a politician, so I agree. Chatters, politicians get their lives destroyed? No, that's not the fear. My life has already been severely under attack. My argument is about how much time. My argument is this. Yeah. It always revolves around how much time and how much effort I can place. In order to min-max, I find it I find it much more beneficial to focus on what I'm doing so far and lend a hand to candidacies that I think are good, rather than spend all this time and energy and effort on, like, you know, running in one singular race and not even guaranteeing a victory. You know, it's just like, it's crazy that people think that, you know, I have any investment in running in general. I'm a mouthpiece, you know. I do agitated propaganda. This is my role. I feel like it's much better for me to try to lend support to organizations that are doing good work, and to people who are and to people who are running that deserve that support. Yeah. Trump going back to bombing. Netanyahu just left abruptly a meeting with Trump. Of course, the anti-camper, thank you for the 5 gifted. And Ducky, thank you for the 5 gifted as well. Sigfenmel, thank you for the 10 gifted. Then you won, you'd actually have that terrible job. How are you going to shoot the Fear Am podcast from Washington? You are disappointing Varoufakis. Yeah, I know. All right, we're gonna get to situation monitoring, but first let's monitor the situation here in the United States of America, obviously, which Josh Gottheimer, congressperson from the state of New Jersey, the state that some people attribute to my place of birth for some weird reason. I don't know this state at all. Okay, weird, but whatever. Has written a piece in the New York Times titled, I'm a guest essay in the New York Times on this beautiful Sunday. I'm a Democrat. My party has a double standard on anti-Semitism. I haven't seen this. I just got on. I was doing the podcast, so I didn't even know that this exists. Have you been asked for responses? No, of course not. And the New York Times is not even letting me write a fucking op-ed on all this slander and smears that I keep getting, that I've been inundated with. You know? You can write the same article about Islamophobia, Arab hate. I don't get the point of this. I mean, it's not even a double standard. It's a single standard on Islamophobia. Everyone does it. Everyone thinks it's awesome. Okay? That's it. All right, let's take a look at what the fuck he has written. I'm a Democrat. My party has a double standard on anti-Semitism by Josh Gottheimer, New Jersey's 5th congressional district. In 2017, Democratic leaders denounced the white supremacist march in Charlottesville chanting, Jews will not replace us. In 2022, Democrats took Donald Trump to task for having dinner with Nick Fuentes, an anti-Semite and a white supremacist. Across the Democratic Party's ideological spectrum, right-wing hate is consistently condemned. But today, too many Democrats are noticeably and shamefully silent when anti-Semitism comes from the far left. At a moment when the Anti-Defamation League is reporting a surge of anti-Semitic incidents in the past 3 years, a glaring double standard. Considering the response to, really the embrace of, Hassan Piker, a prominent left-wing commentator with millions of online followers, he referred to Orthodox Jews as inbred and said America deserved 9/11. Both statements he half-heartedly walked back. said that Hamas, a designated terrorist organization that has killed Americans and taken Americans hostages, is 1,000 times better than Israel. Israel has killed more Americans. Israel has literally killed more Americans. What the fuck are you talking about, dumbass? Like, that's kind of the point. Anyway, that is the point. That's exactly the point. Then Israel, America's ally, which he called a fascist settler colonial apartheid state, a statement that he stands by. Yes, of course I stand by saying Israel, America's ally, is a fascist settler colonial apartheid state because it's fucking true. Tackle the argument instead of just like leaning into, tackle the argument and try to address it instead of leaning into, I can't believe he's saying this. Can you guys believe he's saying these truthful things that I cannot actually address? Yeah, it's true, bitch. Say something about it. A statement he stands by. None of this should be waved away as mere edgy commentary. Yeah, some of it is edgy commentary. Some of it is just objective truths, okay, that are maybe too hard for you to hear. Like the fact that Israel is a settler colonial apartheid state. That is literally just the truth. And it's not just my assessment. It's not only the assessment of Desmond Tutu and numerous other very important figures throughout history, but it's also the assessment currently of B'Tselem, an Israeli human rights organization, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the United fucking Nations, dumbass, the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice. What are you talking about? Sadly, we've seen prominent Democrats appear on a show and even campaign with him, granting his views legitimacy. I've spoken to congressional colleagues who have privately told me that many things Piker said are disgusting, yet they'll say nothing about it in public, even as they rightly rush to condemn President Trump for his unending barrage of offensive comments and social media posts. I understand that speaking up isn't easy. If you do, there are many on the left who will heckle you in public and troll you online. But whether we're elected officials, candidates, organizers, or activists, we should remember that our constituents don't expect us to take the easy path. It takes far more courage to stand up to those who have long claimed to be in your corner than oppose your political opponents. Here's the problem, buddy. Okay? This is a 90-10 issue in the fucking party. It's a 90-10 issue in the fucking party. It was a major issue that caused the Democrats to lose to an incompetent, tyrannical fascist like Donald Trump, who is doing the bidding of Israel. So I guess you're not as frustrated with Donald Trump as many of your constituents are. Okay? So yes, it's not people being afraid of getting heckled. It's people being afraid of democracy, the democratic process, and facing their constituents. You might be so invested in the goals of the state of Israel, a foreign nation, that you don't care. You'll stick your neck out and act as though you were engaging in an act of fucking bravery. Okay. But the reality of the matter is your colleagues that are disgusted with my statements, that are too afraid to say anything about it, are actually not afraid because my fans are all over the country and they're going to fucking heckle politicians. It's that people, their constituents, are going to hear what they have to say about a prominent critic of Israel and go, wait a minute, I agree with this fucking prominent critic of Israel. Why are you attacking a prominent critic of Israel? I'm a critic of Israel myself, and I'm your fucking constituent. What they're afraid of is not sticking their neck out and doing the right thing. What they're afraid of is actually facing their constituents on an issue that they obviously do not align on. How silly. How unbelievably silly. It takes far more courage to stand up to those who have long claimed to be in your corner than to oppose your political opponents. That's what principled leadership is all about, but we're not always seeing it. Yeah, the Democrat politicians need to take a principled stance and say, fuck the voters, fuck this 90-10 issue. We are pro-Israel. That's great, man. That's what they should be doing. Josh Gottheimer, you are such a fucking unbearable loser. Oh my God. At their recent party convention, Michigan Democrats nominated a candidate to run for a seat in the University of Michigan's Board of Regents who shared a social media post praising the former leader of Hezbollah as a martyr, and another post that invoked, yeah, that guy's awesome, by the way. You want to know why he got fucking elected? Because as a lawyer, he stood against the previous fucking regent who not only was a freak, okay? It turns out in Slack messages we found out that he was writing horrible things about students and how quote-unquote fuckable they are, okay? But also on top of that, he very famously prosecuted in a democratic state. He actively pushed to prosecute peaceful college campus protesters that were protesting against the apartheid that was at the time doing a genocide. That's the reason why that person is getting punished for two reasons. Not just the Slack messages, but also because of the actions that he took in the interest of defending Israel's approval ratings in the United States of America by trying to push for criminal prosecution against peaceful protesters on an issue that is, once again, 90-10 in the Democratic base. You cannot call yourself a a Democratic Party representative, if you are this at odds with your own base, you might as well just fucking switch your party loyalty at that point. Last month, Senate Democrats voted 2 measures that would have blocked the sales of military equipment to Israel, with some arguing that among the reasons their votes was their assessment of Israel's human rights record. Is this turnabout a legitimate departure of decades of American foreign policy, or more likely, is it a politically convenient stance that coincides with a small but vocal and growing sentiment? It's not small. It's not small. This is not a small but vocal a growing constituency. It is the entirety of the constituency. These guys are so actively trying to deny abject reality that is in front of them. And the only way that they can get away with this is if they know the readership of the New York Times is also just as fucking oblivious, which I'm willing to bet, and we will look at the comments in a second, they are probably flaming his ass, because even the liberal elite New York Times readership has had enough with Israel and has had enough with Israel first politics, which Josh Gottheimer is absolutely demonstrating. Let's look at the comments real quick. How many times do people have to say it? As many comments as done below. Criticism of the government of Israel is not the same thing as anti-Semitism. We hear this over and over. We should cut off military aid and weapons sales to Israel until Israel agrees to start removing settlers from the West Bank. Conflating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism is anti-Semitic to me, an American Jew. This allows people like the author, Israel's leaders, and many Republicans to use the term in history of the Holocaust as a shield for current day atrocities. Hassan Piker is pointing out the truth, and sometimes he may say something insensitive, but I have no doubt he would actually fight for my rights and not use me as a prop. As many and others have said, criticizing the actions of the Israeli government is not akin to anti-Semitism. The decades of Israeli oppression of Arab and Palestinian people is well documented. I would cut off all arms sales and funding to Israel and to other nations that traffic in oppression. Hey, Josh, are you hearing? Are you hearing the constituents? No, of course not. You're such a fucking bitch. These guys have so much disdain for democracy. They have so much unbelievable disdain for democracy. Never did I ever think that we would be in a place where the American population, not just the American population, but New York Times subscribers would be taking the side of a fucking Twitch streamer when a Democratic congressperson went about their day and wrote a goddamn op-ed, okay? This is designed, the readership is supposed to be designed in a way where, like, they will literally take Josh Gottheimer's position over the position of a random fucking Twitch streamer that they could just easily discard. But they all understand exactly what's going on here. And this is precisely what I was talking about when I said, these guys are attacking me because they think they can discipline people who speak out against Israel. They think they can actually silence people who are saying, what the fuck are we doing? This is embarrassing. This is humiliating. Do something about this, Democrats. Fight back against this, Democrats. And yet, these guys still do it, not realizing that they're burning what remains of their their minor credibility on any issue whatsoever. They're burning away what remains of their social capital and their political power with the hopes that they can just discipline a fucking Twitch streamer. It's over. To the author of this piece, I say that my father got out of Germany in 1930 and always warned us that right-wing nativist authoritarians of any stripe are never good news for Jews. 100%. Every political party is anti-Semite, some hidden, some open. I don't particularly enjoy walking in No King's March next to a few people changing from the river to the sea, but I'm a lot more afraid of the white native. Like, this person still gets afraid when they hear from the river to the sea, but he's like, but I kind of get where they're coming from, as opposed to, like, the actual fucking danger. Like, this is the most charitable for Josh Gottheimer's perspective, right? And even then, they're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? When you lose a person like this who sincerely is afraid of from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free, who is understandably much more afraid of the true danger to Jews, which is the white nationalist anti-Semitism that is unbelievably normalized on the right, okay? And an allegiance, this unholy allegiance, this undying allegiance to the fucking nation state of Israel that is actively saying we're doing this for the Jews, making Jews' lives less safe, okay? What the fuck do you think? Where the fuck are we on this issue? Why are you still doing this? Knowing full well that it's not working, why are you burning your social capital, the limited amount of social capital that remains? Here are my brief comments. Anti-Semitism must always be addressed and confronted. Disagreement with Netanyahu and his government is not anti-Semitic. Tom Friedman in the New York Times is always right. Go read him. Ew. I'm an agnostic who was raised as a Reformed Jew. I haven't been in a synagogue since I was 16, but I did go through 10 years of religious school. I'm very proud of my ethnic heritage. I identify as an ethnic Jew. I'm an unreconstructed new left hippie in politics. I'm hypersensitive to anti-Semitism. I'm also strongly opposed to the current politics in the Israeli government. The basic principle of all racism is the assumption that all members of a particular group are the same. When people equate the Israeli government with all Jews, they're following the basic principle of racist thinking. A significant portion of Israelis oppose what their government is doing. At lunchtime, some boys would roll pennies on the hall cafeteria, shout Jew, Jew. Anyone picked up? I learned the K word and Y word when I was a kid. I don't care what side of the aisle people's politics come from if they can't escape the idea that all group members are the same. Well, good thing I don't do that. Mr. Gottheimer got it fundamentally wrong. I'm not familiar with the Hassan Piker, but agree or disagree with the examples cited. None of them are based on ethnicity. Criticizing behavior must always be allowed. Yeah, even Josh Gottheimer unironically does promotion for me in this situation. If you look at the fucking comments, they're like, I don't even know who this Hassan fellow is, but he's very clearly shitting on Israel, the Israeli government, and the actions of the state of Israel. And you're over here trying to conflate that to the American Jewry. That is unbelievably anti-Semitic. It makes Jews' lives less safe. Anyway, and then he literally, because he can't help himself, right? He's not just saying Hassan's words are mean. He has to tie this to a sequence of unbelievably popular bills like the Block the Bombs Act, and how this is Democrats responding to this like tiny group of people, and also subtly but not so subtly being anti-Semitic for doing so. If this is now the standard for supporting military aid and arms sales, then the Democratic members of Congress should at least be consistent. Do they believe we should block weapon sales to Saudi Arabia? Yes. You know who else did that, by the way? Bernard fucking Sanders, who also is Jewish, mind you. You know who was in support of that? Me at the time. I was screaming fucking bloody murder, Egypt and Turkey. Sure, yes, given their history of human rights abuses in other countries. Now, this, of course, ironically, is a false conflation between the Egyptian state and the Turkish state and Saudi Arabia, many of which have consistently engaged in atrocious behavior and even war crimes, sometimes against civilians, as a matter of fact. Specifically, I'm talking about Turkey against the Kurds, for example, right? Having said that, none of them reach the standard of fucking what Israel has done to the Palestinians for 80 plus years. It's ridiculous. The closest analog to a man-made famine would be Saudi Arabia, which ironically enough was exactly what Bernie Sanders was trying to stop. So this whataboutism doesn't even fucking work. The Democratic condemnation piled on Israel's government is overwhelming in comparison to other allies. It's also louder than Democrats' condemnation of Iran's regime. Hey, guess what, dude? You know the actual condemnations here? Those who are critics of Israel. When Bernie Sanders comes out and says, we must stop weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, they're doing a famine in Yemen, there aren't 700 fucking articles from the Anti-Islamophobia League or whatever the fuck, right? Saying, wow, Bernie Sanders, Islamophobic much for trying to stop Saudi Arabia's genocide in Yemen. It's also louder than Democrats' condemnation of Iran's regime for the slaughter of thousands of Iranians. Oh my God. Buddy, do we fund the IRGC? What are you talking about? Do we fund the motherfucking IRGC? Like, are we funding the Islamic Republic in any way, shape, or form? There is no apt comparison here. There is no analog here because Israel is a unique country in its allegiance. It's unique in many other respects as well. It's a 21st century nation with, I'm sorry to say, 14th century principles, okay? Like when it comes to siege warfare, when it comes to ethnic cleansing, that is one of the issues. It's using 24th century weapons, oftentimes with paid for with our tax dollars. Okay, it has a uniquely pervasive impact on American domestic politics and American foreign policy. There is no fucking comparison between Israel and any of our other allies. There is no world where someone. There's no world. Wait, hold on. Okay, sorry. 24th century BC. Did I say 24th century? I said 21st century. Anyway, Israel has been decried by some leading Democrats as an apartheid state, but I haven't heard any of them claim apartheid when it comes to how women and LGBTQ are treated across the Middle East. Oh my God, this guy's running the maximum 2020, like 2021 route. Like, oh, well, excuse me, what about the apartheid for gays? Okay. It's so funny. Oh, you don't like Israel? Well, guess what? Israel's gay. Okay, well, they're doing a gay apartheid. They're doing apartheid, but also in a gay way. Who gives a fuck? Apartheid is still apartheid. Motherfucker hasn't updated the Hasbara talking points since like 2017. Who gives a shit, dude? Oh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. Oh, so I guess the apartheid is fine then. Yeah. Oh, no, genocide is okay because gay people are doing the genocide? Who gives a fuck? What's wrong with you? Ironic because the opposition only now in Israel, only now is in favor of fucking openly allowing gay marriage take place on Israeli soil. But that's besides the point. We're not even going to get into that. That doesn't even fucking matter. Even if they were literally, everyone was a homosexual in the Israeli government, that still wouldn't make the apartheid justifiable, and it still certainly wouldn't make genocide justifiable. Okay? One Democrat, a very likely presidential hopeful, recently argued that Israel can afford its own security and that Israelis don't need America's financial aid. Even this is, by the way, a very likely presidential hopeful is Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel's parents, or Rahm Emanuel's father was in the, if I'm not mistaken, the Irgun militia, okay? You're talking about a guy who literally did terrorism to build the Israeli state, and you're mad at fucking Rahm Emanuel. You've lost your damn mind, dude. If you're finding yourself at odds with Rahm Emanuel, claiming that he's too far out there with the way he's talking about Israel, you've lost the damn plot. Yeah, Rahm Emanuel's daddy was in a Jewish terrorist organization. Like, literally, what the fuck are we talking about? Anyway. What are we talking about, man? You're fucking psycho. Even though Israel has been a stalwart partner in America's fight against Hamas, Hezbollah. Yeah, America's fight against Hamas. Why is America fighting Hamas? What are you talking about? Why does Hamas exist? Same with Hezbollah. Why does Hezbollah exist? Oh, that's right. It's because Israel exists, okay? It's because Israel doesn't just exist as a normal country, but a country that actually dominates every other fucking neighboring country and constantly foments ethnic tensions and is actively trying to occupy every other fucking country in the region and dominating the lives of the indigenous population of Palestinians, which of course invites militant resistance. America's fight against Hamas is so funny. Yeah, dude, we really need to fight Hamas. Wouldn't a logical extension of that point of view mean that we should also pull our military installations out of well-resourced allies like Germany, Japan, and Kuwait? Wait, what? I mean, I'm in favor of that too. I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. Democrats have justly denounced the Trump administration for its broadsides, in some cases threats towards some of America's closest allies. But many increasingly accuse, don't threaten me with a good time, Josh. As a matter of fact, I'm fairly certain if you were to ask Americans, like, should we have 800 military bases all around the world or should we have free healthcare? I don't think Americans would say, oh, no, let's continue the 800 military bases. They'd be like, no, let's have healthcare, please. Yeah, I hate all the Hamas I run into at the grocery store. Yeah. It's terrifying. Hamas everywhere. Thank God. But many increasingly accuse or join feverish denunciations of Israel, our longstanding democratic and strategic ally. When we're talking about which allies support, which communities we defend, our principles shouldn't shift. When Mr. Trump lashes out at Pope Leo in ways that millions of Catholics rightly, deeply find offensive, many of us look the other way. Are you comparing the president shitting on the fucking Pope to a Twitch streamer shitting on Israel? Like, worthy criticism that Israel absolutely deserves? Israel deserves far more than just my condemnations and criticisms, by the way. That's insane. You are an insane person, okay? You are out of your fucking mind, which is why they're cooking your ass in the comment section of the goddamn New York Times opinion editorial page, even though these are people that are supposed to be aligned with you. You're a fucking Democratic representative. Oh my God, behave. Have some fucking decency. God damn, you are such a servile little piggy for the state of Israel. Oh my God, you're oinking. You're fucking oinking. Ay, ay, ay. These are exactly the types of hit pieces that I personally love. Okay? Guys that are so horny to defend Israel that they can't even write like a comprehensive piece that makes it seem like I'm a bad guy. They just give the game away 3 paragraphs deep because they're so like primarily invested in defending little old Israel, my emotional support apartheid state. Why can't they have a little bit of genocide? That's it. That's the problem. They can't even stick to like basics to be like, Hassan is dangerous and scary. Even then, most people will be like, why am I supposed to care about this? You're a fucking congressperson. Fight against fascism that's happening in the country, please. You fucking idiot. That's what Hassan is trying to do. You should do that as well. But then But then when you do these kinds of idiotic comparisons between the president of the United States of America shitting on the Catholic Church, which is objectively insane, to a Twitch streamer with far less power, but also a Twitch streamer that is making the correct point about Israel that many Americans now actually agree with, you look like a fucking idiot. You look like a dumbass. This doesn't end up hurting me. This actually is promotion for me. This ends up hurting you. Okay? We're also in a very unique media environment where controversial statements don't really matter anymore. Donald Trump is the fucking president. You can't just be like, oh, this guy's controversial, everyone should stay away. No, people actually go, wait a minute, what's controversial about it? Let me take a look. Or they go, who gives a fuck that he's controversial? Trump is the fucking president.
I'm young, I'm hot.
Anyway. When Trump lashed out of Pope Leo, when a Republican congressman tries to dehumanize Muslims, we should all speak up. When Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson use hateful rhetoric, they should be rebuked. The same should go for Hassan Piker. Everyone has a right to express his or her views, however repugnant those views may be, but Democratic leaders have that same right and a duty to challenge them. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. I would love for any Democrat to challenge me on my views of Israel. I would love Josh Gottheimer to challenge me on my views of Israel. I will, anytime, any place, Josh, I'm here for you. Oh my fucking God. I'll fly out to wherever the fuck you are, and I will have a long, uninterrupted 2-hour fucking debate with you on the issue of Israel. Oh my God. Oh, make my fucking day, you bitch. Okay? Make my goddamn day. Go ahead. Let's have a fucking conversation. You can rebuke me, not behind these fucking bullshit ass New York Times op-ed pieces where even the readership doesn't agree with you and dunk on you. But I would fucking love. Yes, I would not fly to Tel Aviv. I'm not trying to fucking die. Okay, I'm talking about American soil with an American congressperson that seemingly is more invested in defending Israel's feelings than doing right by their fucking constituents. This is at the heart of the problem with the Democrats. This is why we despise these sorts of Democrats. And this is precisely the reason why some of these Democrats are apparently disgusted. Yeah, they're disgusted with democracy. They're disgusted with you. They have tremendous disdain for theoretical democracy, for applying the principles of theoretical democracy to their job. They are elected representatives. They are supposed to represent us. They're not supposed to represent corporate interests. They're not supposed to represent foreign countries. They're supposed to represent Americans, okay? That's it. And they are fucking terrified of that prospect. And they're very worried that now there are people who are saying, what the fuck are you doing? Go fight against Donald Trump. Go fucking sever ties and hold this apartheid state accountable. Why the fuck are they? Why has Israel taken $300+ billion of American money to maintain an apartheid state, to dominate the lives of random fucking civilians, innocent civilians, thousands of miles away? And then on top of that, they demand more. And on top of that, if you call that relationship out, you get fucking endlessly criticized. You get called a goddamn anti-Semite over and over again. You are told to shut the fuck up. The demands are that you no longer have a way to generate income, that you should actually lose your platform. How about you lose your fucking platform, bitch? In a just world, you would literally be tried. Okay? You would be tried for defending fascism like this. That is what would happen in a just world. Holy shit. Inshallah, one day, maybe. There should be one response to those who express hatred towards any American. Condemnation. Hate is hate. It doesn't get a pass because it comes from your side of the aisle. 62 comments. Everyone's cooking his ass. Oh, no one. This whataboutism gets tiresome. You can't criticize it unless you also condemn every other bad actor on earth. So let's take it on its own terms. We're not generic moral spectators rating every country on a human rights scorecard. Israel's in a different category. We don't just sell them weapons, we fund them. Israel's the largest cumulative recipient of U.S. military aid since World War II, backed by a standing memorandum of understanding, supplemental appropriations, and diplomatic cover at the UN. Oh my God, that no other country, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey, receives. Criticism scales with complicity, and our complicity here is uniquely deep. You can object to arms sales to Riyadh and still recognize that the U.S.-Israel relationship is is something much deeper. The war in Gaza has gone well beyond any reasonable military objective, as evidenced by Lloyd Austin's own early criticism of Israel's tactics, and into what looks to many observers like ethnic cleansing. Americans across the political spectrum are sickened by it and refuse to be complicit on principle. Change is coming precisely because no change is happening in the Israeli-led conduct of this and other conflicts. Framing Senators' votes as a cynical concession to a vocal segment dismisses the substance of what they're actually responding to. And let's be clear, this isn't anti-Semitism, it's opposition to Israeli war policy. Those two aren't the same, and conflating them is deflection. Oh my God. I'd like to point out that a rhetorical trick that as both a Jewish person and someone who engages in debates on this topic quite frequently, I find quite frustrating. Mr. Gottheimer frames this as a discussion of anti-Semitism and then mostly talks about criticism of Israel. This frames them as the same thing without having to say it explicitly when in reality they are not. Doing so, in my opinion, gives cover for real and more overt anti-Semitism to flourish because it cheapens the definition of anti-Semitism as simply criticism of Israel and not hate of and prejudice towards Jewish people. This is why I have maintained a principled stance, regardless of how much people to my left sometimes, and certainly everyone to my right, who are anti-Israel, yell at me, where they say, whoa, why do so many Jews love Israel? Why don't you just say it out loud? Why don't you say it out loud? Because fundamentally, it's not true, okay? Fundamentally, it's not true. American Jews are American, okay? They're American. They live here. Some of them might be unbelievably sympathetic to the goals of the nation state of Israel, like Josh Gottheimer is, okay? But that's a separate thing. And perhaps there's even a financial imperative for Josh to maintain this level of loyalty to the nation state of Israel and become this much of a willing servant of the state of Israel. Do you understand? It's not only unproductive, but also objectively untrue. People's positions can change. And also, no group of people are a fucking monolith. Okay, American Jews are certainly not a monolith. If they had a monolithic understanding of Israel, then pro-Israeli organizations wouldn't spend billions of fucking dollars on U.S. soil trying to literally brainwash young American Jews from early on to maintain this undying loyalty to the state of Israel, which still ends up failing. If you look at the goddamn polling on this, it clearly doesn't even fucking work. There is a generational divide amongst American Jews that are under the age of 50 versus American Jews that are over the age of 50 as well. Okay? At this point, New York Times needs to let you do an op-ed. New York Times has a policy of not letting anyone write an op-ed that's against another person that has written an op-ed. Like, I can't directly call out Josh Gottheimer's op-ed piece by writing in the New York Times about it. Not a single mention in this article about Israel's actions in the last 2 years as context. No one is putting up with this. Look at this. Being critical of holding the Israeli government accountable for its actions is not anti-Semitism. It's a distinction and nuance that this author and so many others ignore. One's negative feelings and words for Netanyahu and his cabinet are no more anti-Semitism than are the same for Trump and his cabinet. Exactly. Like, when I talk about America, when I talk about what America has become, when I talk about American history, like, I'm not saying every single fucking American is a card-carrying fascist, okay? And Americans understand that because we're Americans, okay? We are experiencing it and we understand it. But when it comes to Israel, everyone's like, whoa, 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 that's the Jewish state. How dare you? It's fucking ridiculous. It's a rhetorical trick that no longer works either. So it's unbelievably stupid that there are still those who maintain this stance, thinking that this will somehow successfully cause people to change their perception. It's not working, and yet you still see people trying it. It's very frustrating. It's very stupid. But I would say at this point, it's unbelievably unproductive for those who still actively write these kinds of things because it doesn't accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish. It doesn't disparage someone like myself. It ends up disparaging the author because everyone and their mothers can see exactly what's going on, okay? More and more people wake up to that reality every single fucking day. Do you understand? I never, ever in a million years would have thought that a Democratic congressperson from the state of New Jersey would write an op-ed in the New York Times and the readership would unilaterally oppose or overwhelmingly oppose the sentiment that they are trying to get across there and actually end up defending someone like myself for my criticisms of the state of fucking Israel. There are lots of double standards in this world, and Josh Gottheimer embodies the one which has for years dominated American political discourse on the Middle East, namely shocking indifference to the life of any person, including children, who isn't an Israeli Jew, and with it, shocking indifference to the war crimes. Where the fuck did the article go? Oh, here it is. Shocking indifference to the war crimes and crimes against humanity carried out by Israel, for which the U.S. is uniquely culpable, as it both finances and enables those crimes. Mr. Gottheimer has taken over $1 million from pro-Israel lobbyists in just the last few years, and it was money well spent. Even though Israel has been a stalwart partner in America's fight against Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations, can the author explain to me exactly why exactly we are fighting Hamas and Hezbollah while they're at it? Perhaps they can explain why those organizations exist in the first place. But the apartheid, look, even this guy, Ben, from Munich, says there are real problems from Munich, okay? So you know they're not of sound mind here, okay? They're German. There are real problems with anti-Semitism on the left in this country. And the apologists for Hamas, or the people who denounce Israel while completely ignoring the UAE, which has tons of US investment and is actively supporting the murderous RSF in Sudan, which, by the way, we don't, okay? And the fascist colonialist description of Israel is absurd. It's not. The Jewish people who survived the horrors of World War II need their own state. The plight of the Rohingya in Myanmar and the Armenians in Azerbaijan. Which country? Which country funded the ethnic cleansing of the Armenians? Oh, right, yeah. That was Israel too. Which country also personally is participating in the ethnic cleansing of Armenians that live in Palestine? Oh, that's right. That's Israel. Anyway, this guy doesn't know enough, but it's fine. And the Uyghurs in China could show us how worthless the promises of autonomy for the ethnic minorities are. But the apartheid part is undeniably true. You got guys like this. You got guys like this saying apartheid part is undeniably true. As a Jewish person with family in Israel, I don't think the criticism of Israel is necessarily anti-Semitic, though it unfortunately is often couched in those tropes. That is the guy that is 100% supposed to be on board with Josh Gottheimer. Okay? And even that guy's like, nope. You've gone a bridge too far. Israel is an apartheid. Yeah, look. This is what I mean when I say this criticism has stuck. What is this? In Germany, we say, I don't know what this means. The difference between Hamas and Hezbollah in Israel is the Israeli military kills hundreds of innocent civilians for every one killed by Hamas and Hezbollah, and does so with our funding and our weaponry. Thank you. See? People get it. This is why I think it's important to be brave sometimes, okay? And to stand by your principles and not be afraid to ruffle some fucking feathers. That is why I stood 10 toes down over and over again on some of the things that I've said that have caused tremendous ire and have caused people to yell at me and call me a fucking terrorist, demand my deplatforming for years and years and years, okay? Because it was the truth. So in context, who are the real terrorists? I don't expect the author of this article to engage with that. I'm tired of reading these endless stream of slop claiming that Israel is somehow a separate entity vis-a-vis the United States. Anti-Semitism is wrong. The Holocaust did happen. Killings of 1,200 Israelis on October 7 was wrong. Those are facts. For decades, Israelis in the West Bank have been attacking Palestinians there without cause. Like, do you see this? Look at this. Look at this. These are the people that Josh Gottheimer thinks he can still reach. And even they're like, no, we're done. There is a spectrum of different levels of compassion and different levels of wanting to defend the state of Israel in the New York Times op-ed commentary section, okay? And yet all of them are universally saying we oppose Israel's actions, and calling out Israel's actions is not fucking anti-Semitism. These are not card-carrying, anti-imperialist, Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, third worldists. These are not people who believe in the immortal science of Marxist, Leninist, Jewishist principles, okay? These are people who are American citizens who have believed the idea of Zionism, the false ideology that Zionism has presented itself as. These are people who have probably spent a long life believing that Israel is an unbelievably reliable ally to the United States of America, who have said enough is enough. That's it. The author writes, even though Israel has been a stalwart partner in America's fight against Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations, as far as I understand, America isn't fighting against Hamas or Hezbollah in any significant way. Never really have. As for the other terrorist organizations, Israel didn't help the U.S. fight against ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Yeah, ironically, you know who did? Iran. Okay? Again, gonna ruffle some feathers here. Iran has been a more reliable partner in combating Al-Qaeda and ISIS than Israel has. Okay? It's true. It's objectively true. You will never hear it in mainstream media. No one will ever say it. As a matter of fact, when someone in independent media like myself says things like this, people are shocked to hear it. People think, how could you say such an insane thing? Because they don't know. They don't know the truth. That's the real problem here. A lot of people don't know the truth. A lot of people also have, their own personal biases in this issue, and it hurts their feelings to hear something so different than what they previously thought. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Israel gave or gives support to the same Sunni militias that the U.S. has been fighting all these years, being that the Sunni groups in Syria, Iraq share a common enemy with Israel. Iran. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see much of a quid pro quo when it comes to the U.S. sending all that gun money to Israel. Yep. The Democratic condemnation piled on Israel's government is overwhelming in comparison to our allies. Perhaps that's because other allies have not shelled or bombarded the population of a densely populated area half the size of the city of Toronto over 2 years, kept the population of the West Bank under military occupation for 68 years, allowed and then encouraged the building of 347 Israeli settlements in the West Bank, where over 500,000 settlers now live. Tolerated at times abetted violent settler raids on Palestinian villages of the West Bank, declared, i.e. present government, that Palestinians do not have a right to self-determination and that Israel will never allow the existence of a Palestinian state. Maybe those are some of the reasons why criticism of Israel is harsher than criticism of other allies of the United States. People are glazing Walter's take. Oh yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, Walter did pop off. He looks so much more comfortable without the suit. This is unbelievably comfy, actually. This is like pajamas. I'm not even kidding. Like, everything I'm wearing is super silky smooth. Surely, Representative Josh Gottheimer, author of this fresh, bold new take, would agree that the congressional Dem who took the most money from right-wing Nazi art collector Harlan Crow is a textbook example of this problem, with the slight wrinkle that said Dem is Josh Gottheimer. That's awesome. Sadly, Representative Josh Gottheimer does not respond well to being asked about this interesting contradiction. I did not know that, by the way. Right-wing Nazi art collector Harlan Crow? Oh my God. That's so funny. Yeah, that's awesome. Bro thinks he's Indiana Jones. Yeah, Harlan Crow. Yeah. Except he's not punching the Nazis. Meet Harlan Crow's favorite Democrats: Josh Gottheimer, Joe Manchin, Henry Cuellar, Seth Moulton. Wow. Some of my faves. Okay. Some of my faves. Oh, Kirsten Sinema, Jim Costa, Jared Golden, Dean Phillips. Oh, that's Dean Phillips. That's not Seth Moulton. Sorry. Fuck. Apologies. They're both unbelievably forgettable. Elisa Slotkin, Abigail Spanberger. Wow. Problem Solvers Caucus Democrats. Wow. Huh. Some of my least favorite Democrats in office. Some of Harlan Crow, the right-wing juicer, major donor to and bestie of right-wing reactionary Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, that Harlan Crow. Perhaps those are the other Democrats that Buttheimer has talked to, okay, who are repulsed by my statements on Israel. Well, I say your statements on Israel are far more repulsive than mine. Last log comment, worth it. The world misses him, Obama. Oh, shut up. I'm not watching that. Hold on. Can I have shake? No. I'm going to undo the repost and then quote retweet it with that image. Hold on. Gottheimer. You can condemn my opinion on Israel in a public setting to my face anytime, any place of your choosing. I think the people will find your views to be your views. I think the people find your views on Israel to be far more morally repugnant than mine. I think your constituents. Guys, stop saying accept Israel. He's not going to say, let's go to fucking Tel Aviv, all right? Hey, Josh Gottheimer, you can condemn my opinion on Israel in a public setting to my face. Anytime, any place, not Israel of your choosing. I think your constituents find your views on Israel to be far more morally repugnant than mine. Send tweet. Geopold called you out. Oh, no, I know. I already watched this.
Extreme.
Dude, it's because I called Geopold out and I caused them to make this long video. No, I'm kidding. It's you happen to pull this off very well. Lenin. Yeah, I know. Here's a throwback. When Representative Susan Wild talked about making sure all faith leaders were invited to the October 7th vigils, including Muslims, which concerned Wild due to their non-invitation to the vigil she attended, Gottheimer responded with, because they're Muslims and guilty. Because the Muslims are guilty. Yeah. I'm going to say we can talk about your double standard too. Maybe in that setting, we can discuss your repulsive double standards as well. Your repulsive Islamophobic double standards as well. Is the Hannity thing happening? No, all these guys are all talk, man. I've begun to realize, like, many of them say they want to have a conversation. What is this? Red Pen, Critique of Western Marxism. 40 minutes long, 3 weeks ago. This is what you want to spend watching on a Sunday. Have you been seeing the Pearl Harbor discourse? Yes, I did. He talked about at length, and the clip is on the same account, you fucking donkey. He talked about that as well. Stop getting duped by small clips. Yeah, no, this person is not getting duped by small clips. This person is actively trying to claim that I am like in support of Imperial Japan. It's ironically the very same person who has at times said I'm far too sympathetic to the party that leads the People's Republic of China. I don't even think that we have to discuss this, okay? The very same people that say I'm too pro Mao Zedong, I'm too pro the PRC, I'm too sympathetic to the Communist Party of China, are the very same people that are now falsely claiming that I would ever in a million years be in favor of Imperial Japan, because they're fucking animals, okay? They're assholes, they're animals, they're dumb as fuck, they're dumb as bricks, okay? They hit every angle they possibly can. On the one hand, they'll say, "Oh, Hassan, you are in support of the fucking People's Republic of China. Don't you understand? They're like a fucking behemoth and terrifying, and America's number one op, America's number one enemy. Shouldn't you be in favor of militant action against China like good Americans are?" Yeah, it's the lady that said I remind her of her ex-husband, okay? She's a fucking idiot. Yeah, Japan is the Hitler of the East is what I said. But these people are psychos and also not very intelligent either. Let's be real. Like they're not even very good. You read the comments on the Yahoo News piece, they're all in your favor. What Yahoo News piece? Yahoo News wrote an article as well? Or is this the Fox News aggregator? If you don't speak out, you're wrong. You're complicit. Liberalism will eventually destroy the Dem Party. No, these are fucking dumb donkeys. Yeah, I wonder why Fox News is loving Josh Gottheimer recently. Can we move to something else? We know he got haters. Brother, this is news in and of itself. This is an American congressperson that's putting the interests of Israel first at a time when there's like unprecedented crises born out of a fascist administration, a fascist Republican administration, and their undying loyalty to the nation state of Israel. And you're over here being like, "Oh, this is not newsworthy." Bitch, it's the news. What do you want me to fucking say? Please watch this. It's about you and only 3 minutes long.
Observations about Hassan Piker might seem obvious, but amidst a torrent of retread Red Scare bullshit, sometimes the basics are useful. There are two reasons that the Democratic Party elite needs you to focus on the pro-forceful resistance and pro-communist slices of Piker's Twitch rhetoric. They need you first to miss his core messaging around the desperate need for a socialist transformation, and second, they need you to disown and project onto him the live-streamed institutional and genocidal violence they are responsible for or complicit with in Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, the southern border, the climate, you name it. Now, on that first reason, they need to discredit the fact that Piker has supported Bernie, Mamdani, Chris Raab, Cory Bush, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ahmed Al-Sayed, and now Graham Plattner, because these bad Democrats are just starting to challenge capital. But the fact that Piker supports them gives the lie to the second reason, because any real tanky, campist, or Marxist-Leninist who rallies for revolutionary change views progressive candidates as class enemies who capture and dissipate revolutionary energy into useless electoralism. So, what does he say on stream? Piker glorifies Mao without sufficient condemnation. He yells at the chat that the blood of the capitalists should run in the streets. This is very common resistance response to everyday social murder. As a streamer, he's in the business of counter-propaganda, where the task is to de-radicalize red-pilled men taught to scapegoat trans people. Now, maybe there are moments in the years of streams I haven't seen, I'm not going to see, that are disqualifying for me because they cross into reckless incitement. My sense so far is that he has a handle on this because he correctly identifies someone like Luigi as an adventurist. Now, if he recklessly incites, he should be criticized, and he should definitely check himself for any habit of casual bigotry and leave that lane for Joe Rogan. So what's one clear measure of inciting violence? It's the measure that Democrat elites always need to obscure when disciplining the left, the measure of potential power. Is there a left-wing Proud Boys Piker marches with? No. Is there an organized armed leftist paramilitary he's dog whistling? No. Anything that could coalesce to counter ICE? No. Any organized attacks in his name or citing his content? No. The power Piker has at this point is similar to that of anti-genocide activists in the streets. And what does the Democratic ruling class do to them? It says they have dangerous beliefs that will infect the young with hypothetical terrorism, and it sends the cops to crack their heads. So they turn the rhetoric of resistance, which is sometimes all a people has, into hypothetical violence, while they sign contracts with...
Why do so many Marxists hate you for dissipating revolutionary energy when you're educating way more people? I think they have a different interpretation of the current material conditions that we exist under and where the masses are than I do. Maybe some of them are LARPing. Maybe some of them sincerely have a disagreement on it. That's probably what it is. They don't understand that like we don't have a lot of prominence, especially in some of these larger organs of propaganda, mainstream media, and all these other outlets. They don't realize that most Marxists don't disagree with you. A lot of us are just here. Yeah, I mean, there's also that element of it as well. There's a lot of people who are in disagreement with one another, right? Marxists have historically never agreed with one another. So that's normal. There's never been a period where all flanks of the left have coalesced, with some exceptions, I would say, like anti-fascism is probably one of those exceptions where people just, drop their petty disagreements and their minor ideological battles to join a popular front, oftentimes to fight fascism. That's pretty much it. And the moment that the fascist threat is destroyed, we get right back to fighting one another once again. Historically, there's never been a complete... Yeah, I saw this. I saw this. What some people don't realize about Hassan Piker, he's not some revolutionary figure. He's someone who does political and media analysis, whose project is to infiltrate influential media circles to spread socialist and leftist ideals, which have been overall successful so far. It's undeniable that Hassan's project has had massive reach and brought countless new leftists into the fold, as well as converting liberals into socialist thinkers and even reactionary right-wingers on a huge scale. Hard for me to see his impact as an overall net negative. It's ironic because, like, we're doing the same thing. This guy's just bad at it, okay? And they don't understand that they're bad at it, so they just fucking yell at me nonstop. And it's really funny because liberals will hear that word, infiltration, and think, oh, he's being disingenuous. I'm pretty open about it. I have an argument, and I think that argument is very understandable as long as you listen to it charitably instead of immediately assuming the worst, which is why many liberals do assume the worst and say, oh, this is like, this is a clear-cut infiltration. This is bad. This is wrong. We got to fucking do away with this guy. We got to cut him from our ranks. No, what you're trying to do is stop people from hearing this alternative perspective that they've never actually heard in a charitable manner, because you're worried that if they were equipped, if they were class conscious, if they were aware of their class position, and if they were equipped with political education, that they might actually see themselves not as just like party loyalists, but instead a different ideological tendency beyond the only one that was readily available to them their entire lives, which is just like regular liberalism, whatever the fuck that means, like blanket liberalism, which is monoculture to begin with. It's liberalism on the right, it's liberalism on the left.
Volunteer and write checks to the IDF and deny even the most diplomatic advocates for Palestine the right to speak. This
the age-old critique of you is you're taking revolutionary discourse and mobilizing it towards a reformist theory of change, elect better but not communist politicians. Dude, what do you mean elect communist politicians? If you think that there is a capacity to elect communist politicians right now, and I'm simply standing ahead of it, you're delusional about what the average person thinks about communism, let alone socialism. Okay? It's so shocking. What Kami says, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Anyway, I do think that it's silly to constantly have to duke it out with my left flank when I'm getting fucking yelled at nonstop by endlessly more powerful forces that actually do have some long-standing impact in American political discourse. We're talking about American senators and American representatives in both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. We're talking about mainstream media that is like actively calling me a threat to not only just the Democratic Party's future, but also the future of this country. And you're over here telling me about like some fucking guy who works for the ACP or something, yelling at me because I don't subscribe to a movement that will lean into whatever the algorithm presents as as the new thing to focus on, which is what the ACP did for fucking years, leaning into Andrew Tate, leaning into all of these like red-pilled guys, as though that was the true way to reach across the aisle to the fucking working class. Okay? It's ridiculous. They call me fucking tailist. That is literally textbook tailism. That is literally what Lenin extensively wrote about. As a matter of fact, Lenin straight up wrote about tailism, opportunism, when it came to reactionary anti-Semitism. He straight up said, if we were tailists, we would focus on one of the most prominent movements at the time, which was anti-Semitism, blaming Jews, instead of focusing on class contradictions, instead of focusing on class-first politics. He literally wrote it. These people who routinely yell at me, calling me a fucking tailist for the liberal Zionist Democratic Project or whatever the fuck, are themselves engaging in the actual reactionary tailist mentality.
Would vote to approve arms sales for Israel in a future entanglement if you thought that was necessary?
Again, we have a long-standing commitment to Israel having a qualitative military edge.
Oh,
I will
God.
continue to support that.
You would vote.
Change comes by voting. Mao Zedong. A lot of people genuinely think your money can go elsewhere, as if the global forces of capital aren't the ones acting against you. I assume you don't have an issue with the PSL? No, I don't. I mean, I don't have an issue with the PSL. These arguments about dissipating revolutionary fervor is really weird because they're trying to repeat the arguments of people like Lenin when they were an actual organized and popular left flank. Those times were the times when even Nazis had to put socialists in their name to be popular. There isn't a revolutionary fervor that you can dissipate. Exactly. Where is the revolutionary fervor? People are just beginning to recognize their class position. They recognize the struggles, but don't have the class consciousness nor the political education to understand exactly why the pain that they're feeling and the struggles that they're experiencing are happening to them. That is a very unique environment. It can be a very dangerous environment. This is how you can have a shit ton of people in the working class turn into lumpen proles, reactionaries of all different sorts. I think there are a lot of people who are very well read, perhaps a lot better read than I am on Marxist theory. But when they were diving into the books, I think they forgot to look outside a little bit and talk to their fellow man and develop a better understanding and appreciation of where they're at and how to convince them. Okay? That's the issue. Unfortunately, many of these people who are very well read on theory are not so good at communicating that in a way that is palatable. They have this interesting understanding of the working class where they have almost disdain for the working class. I don't know. I disagree that there isn't a revolutionary fervor when you're organizing on material conditions and building tenant unions. People arrive militant because they have nothing else. The material conditions are bad enough, but if we have to organize on ideology, i.e. through elections, we're going to lose. Organizing is teaching people collectively engage in class struggle. Yes, Marxism. I know. You and I are not going to see eye to eye on, building a robust movement. I don't disparage what you do, of course. I think it's unbelievably important, but you are, in some ways, unfortunately, a little bit of an anarchist, okay? I say we can do both. Kirsten Marxism? No, that's not true. He's not an anarchist. Okay. Well, he sure sounds like one in a lot of instances. Organizing the working class is anarchism? Yes, it can be. What do you think? Wait, what? What, you think anarchists don't fucking organize the working class? Of course they do. They're at the especially in the United States of America, anarchists have been at the forefront of labor movements. What the fuck do you think the Haymarket riots were? Of course they are. They play an unbelievably and profoundly important role in building working class movements. They do a shit ton more real practiced work and direct action and mutual aid than many self-described Marxist-Leninists do. Okay? My anarchism slander is it stems from my ideological deviation on what must be done. Having said that, I would never in a million years disparage the important work the anarchists do in the United States of America. Also showering. I think it's very important to shower with regular frequency, and basic hygiene sometimes is an unjustifiable hierarchy. Okay? That's what it is. I have to throw a little bit of slander in there, okay? I have to toss in a little bit of slander in this conversation. Just as funny, the 5,000 time good one. Yeah, there's a fuck ton of anarchists in this community. Obviously, there's a good reason for it, despite my endless slander. Tosnem citing an informed source. We just saw the reaction of the so-called president of the United States to Iran's response. All right, let's get to actually what the fuck's going on in the United States of America. Actually, you know what? Let's watch this funny video first, and then we'll get to situation monitoring. Okay.
And I'm a Zionist. I won't say free Palestine, but don't worry. It's young, I'm hot, and I'm a Zionist. I won't say free Palestine, but don't worry. It's just because I don't want one. I like healthcare. Don't you want healthcare? Did I mention I'm young? I don't take any corporate PAC money. We need a candidate with name recognition. My grandpa, you single issue voters, you're the problem. I'm just gonna say it. I don't think you guys know the definition of genocide. What else can I do? Do you want me to take my shirt off? I'll take my shirt off. I'll do it too. Like I'll literally do it right now if you want me to. Is that what's gonna get you to vote for me? Like, I'm young.
Okay, this is just literally shots fired at Jack Schlossberg. Straight the fuck up.
No, it's not.
Welcome to the next 5 to 10 years of Dem politics. We got it all. What is genocide really? Metaphysics. Calls for investigations. One bad man theory. Netanyahu made a one-off error. Israel went too far. How many dead Palestinians would have been just the right amount? The art of gesturing towards outrage and liberal humanitarianism followed immediately by deflection, justification for genocide, and ethno-supremacist ideological mantras. Not the best, in my opinion.
Not a word that I use.
We don't know what happened there.
There should be an investigation.
I do not believe that Israel's actions in the Middle East is a genocide.
No.
I'm not sure I'm qualified to define it, but what has happened to the Palestinian people, I think, has gone way too far.
I think what the Netanyahu government has done in Israel cannot be classified as within international norms.
Benjamin Netanyahu's government has been pushing very aggressively against the idea of a two-state solution.
This is literally the most like disappointing aspect of Tom Steyer. I just don't understand why he just won't fucking breach that standard. I don't get it. You're literally a billionaire, dog. Your dad was a famous Nuremberg prosecutor. You should know better, okay? You should know better. And you are literally that guy. You are the guy who they can't do anything to. You could just spend $1 billion defending your principled stance on this issue if you got fucking hit pieces. If I can eat it on a fucking daily basis, you can too, okay? Tom Steyer is the guy who has fuck you money. He has generational wealth, okay? Just do the goddamn right thing and you will be reincarnated as a lotus flower, Tom Steyer. Just say the fucking truth. You can afford it. He called it a genocide on Walter Masterson's pod. I think so. I think Walter literally said, I heard you speak on this issue with Hassan, and you said you were going to think on it. Have you? I don't know if he actually did. You should get another billionaire on your show who will not be disappointing to you. Who? The fuck going on in California, dog? Brother, I don't think you understand, okay? It is ass, okay? I don't know if it's the goddamn weather. I don't know what the fuck it is, but California politics, like New York and California have been the long-standing, like, blue enclaves that have propped up some of the worst, most right-wing Democrats in this goddamn country. Not right-wing on every issue, but like right-wing on issues, a lot of issues that matter, okay? Great disdain for socialized healthcare, and on top of that, obviously, horrible on the issue of Israel, but very woke when it comes to, trans issues. We're very woke when it comes to LGBTQ related issues in general. Let's be real, okay? If we're going to be, if we're going to be honest in our assessment here, they have always been strong, loyal advocates for the LGBTQ rights and abortion rights and things of that nature. Not discounting that at all, and unbelievably bad on the issue of healthcare and the issue of Israel and all these other things like real estate lobby, things of that nature. Okay. Tom Steyer is also unique on climate change as well. Like, this is his main issue. So he's actually been pretty good on that too. And as far as like billionaires goes, but New York has now fallen. New York has fallen victim to, because of the good work of the Democratic Socialists of America in New York. New York is now in the hands of socialists in many respects. Socialists dominate New York politics. Thank God. Unfortunately, however, California has not fallen victim to socialist politics. We have a lot of work to do in this state. Okay? A specter is haunting New York City and New York State in general. The specter of socialism, the specter of Marxism. However, that very same specter is non-existent in the state of California, in my state, and certainly not in Los Angeles either. We will get there, but it will take time.
We need to focus on what it will take to save lives there, and we've spent a lot of time fighting over the meaning of a word. What's happened there is a human tragedy. Anytime you see children dying, you should be horrified. I know I've been horrified.
My message to everyone is quit believing your phone. Quit believing social media. Quit believing just one news network or one frame of mind. You have to investigate. You have to use critical thinking skills, because you are being led down a path to believe something that either is or is not true, depending on the side.
Socialists do not dominate New York politics, dog. No. Socialists, self-described socialists, self-identifying socialists are now officially a force to be reckoned with in New York politics, and not just New York City politics, New York politics in general. This is just true, okay? As opposed to where things were when fucking Cuomo was the governor. Are you kidding me? Not even a question. Look at California politics and then look at New York politics currently, okay? New York politics is begging to kiss Zoran's ring. You got AOC, you got Zoran. There are plenty of people that are self-described, self-identifying socialist aligned, or at least like Bernie-crats all up and down New York now, especially in comparison to California and Los Angeles.
Not been on the ground and conducting an investigation, but there should be an investigation. There has been enough evidence that the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, should fully investigate allegations.
While I don't believe it's genocide, I do believe some of what I've seen is excessive. I don't support Netanyahu.
We have to make sure that there needs to be ways to support the survivors and to bring in humanitarian aid and to help to rebuild what has been destroyed and to create a real government for the people, for the Palestinian people.
I think the number of people who died in Gaza during the Israeli action was extreme. I think Netanyahu.
Oh, I can't even listen to this shit. This sucks. Here.
Go. Have you had time to educate yourself on the definition of genocide?
I have.
This is your redemption moment.
You're not going to like my
do
answer.
it.
Oh my God. You know what? Okay, I'll shut up.
It wasn't a month ago. It was like a couple of months ago. Before we went into Iran. And so now I think it's extremely clear. The Netanyahu government, what they were doing before, they now have us doing. If there was any uncertainty, there's no uncertainty now. All the ambiguity and, you know, it's complicated and it's nuanced bullshit. It is now extraordinarily clear what is going on. Drove up our gas prices, took money away from that we could be spending on educating kids and taking care of people from a healthcare or childcare standpoint. And they want to do it more. And it's clear that there is no human purpose behind this. There is no strategic purpose behind this. And so all the questions about what Trump is doing, what Netanyahu is doing, what they're doing together, what they're doing to us, and whether they have a leg to stand on is out the window, as far as I'm concerned.
Since you're...
No DJ has ever baited a beat drop this hard. I just don't fucking get it, man. I don't get it. What do they got, a fucking gun to your temple? What the hell is going on? Can you enter the governor's race yourself at this point? No, I can't. Okay. And I have no ambitions to do so regardless. Man, I don't know the fucking first thing about governance. Okay. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's do a fucking writing candidacy this far into the process.
As a guide to revolution.
Yeah. This motherfucker doesn't know either. Yeah, but he has enough free time as a fucking billionaire to you know, work on doing good governance. And he has a pretty solid policy approach on key issues that I care about. All right, let's get to...
Turning now to the war in Iran.
The war in Iran. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Trump is being extra belligerent. Let's take a look. So earlier today, Iran sent their proposal back to the United States of America. You know, Donald Trump had a conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, and in the aftermath of the conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, he had a lot of choice words. He also denied that Benjamin Netanyahu was influencing him, but let's take a look.
President Trump still waiting to hear from Tehran on the administration's latest peace proposal. And U.S. Central Command says American forces have redirected 58 commercial vessels and disabled 4 since April 13th as part of the U.S. blockade against Iran. Let's bring in ABC News Chief Global Affairs Anchor Martha Raddatz, who will be hosting This Week later this morning. Martha, good morning to you. So what do we know right now about the latest U.S. peace outline and why Iran still hasn't responded?
Well, we've just been waiting and waiting. We've heard from the administration as late as Friday. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said we expect something from Iran by the end of the day. That did not happen. We do not know why, but Iran seems in absolutely no hurry. Now, this proposal basically says let's stand down for 30 days. The U.S. won't block the Strait, and Iran won't lay mines or do anything else to inhibit ship traffic. After that, during that 30 days, they're supposedly going to talk about some sort of nuclear agreement, which would be a very, very short window to try to come to terms on that. So we are just waiting, Whit. We don't know why. We're going to ask about that this morning for sure.
Yeah, and so much at stake in just the coming days here. Also, the global turmoil is having a major economic impact here at home, especially with soaring gas prices. You've been speaking with voters in Pennsylvania. What are they saying about all of this?
Well, these are key districts, and I spoke to some people there, and everybody is seeing this change. Everybody, they feel it when they go to the gas station and they worry about what comes next, when this will end. But as for looking at President Trump, those diehard Trump supporters say this, they repeat the president's rhetoric, basically, saying this is a small price to pay if he can stop any sort of nuclear bomb. But others are absolutely outraged. Why did it start? What are we doing? How do we end it? And that is the big question this morning, Whit. How do we end it?
Exactly, and critical in this midterm election year. Martha Raddatz, as always, we appreciate it.
Well, the fragile ceasefire tested again today. 2 Iranian drones targeted a ship off the coast of Qatar. One drone started a small fire aboard the ship. Ashley Webster is live in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Ashley.
Yes, good evening, John. Well, those clashes in the Strait of Hormuz continue to go on a daily basis. I can update you also that President Trump did speak by phone to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. That is concluded, but we don't have any details. But we do have...
Hold on. We'll get Barack Ravid on the phone. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, sweetie. We'll see what conversation took place shortly. And that's right. Barack Ravid is already here. First, let's start with what the Iranians said. An informed Iranian source told Tasnim News that the Wall Street Journal's report on Tehran's counterproposal is factually inaccurate in key parts, particularly on nuclear material details. According to the source, Iran's actual text demands an immediate end to the war on all fronts, including Hamas, including Hezbollah, Lebanon, and the like. Guarantees against future attacks on Iran, full lifting of U.S. sanctions, including oil export OFAC restrictions during a 30-day window, end the naval blockade immediately after the initial agreement is signed, release of Iran's frozen assets, Iranian management of the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for U.S. commitments. Iran has also rejected dismantling its nuclear facilities and offers a shorter enrichment moratorium than the 20-year suspension Washington demanded. Remember, there's 3 demands. There was 5 years, there was 20 years, and then Iran said 15 years. America wants 20 just so Trump can say, oh, I got a much longer commitment than the JCPOA. It's pure posturing at this point. It's about who gets to, who is allowed to pull a victorious position. That's all it is. Including Hamas, out of your ass. They don't care about Gaza. No, I didn't pull it out of my ass. I've talked extensively with numerous Iran analysts on this broadcast, and their understanding is the entirety of the axis of resistance, because they see that as a separate front where Israel can maintain a militant posture against not Iran directly, but the axis of resistance. It literally it factors even the Houthis into this equation. They haven't gone deeper into these conversations. And the reason why they're focusing on Lebanon is because Israel's using the Lebanon button as a way to ruin all and any ceasefire negotiations that could take place. But it's supposed to be across the board. I don't know if they'll write out Hamas at the end of that bargain. They could, but so far, talking out of your ass. Why are people saying fake news, talking out of your ass? Okay. What analysts have you guys talked to? I'm sure on your broadcast you have probably extensively read the Iran information. You, I'm sure, also have consistent contact and know people that are directly talking to Iranian leadership, like Scahill at Dropsite News, and numerous others. So surely you have information that I don't. So maybe you can explain it to me, because you've probably watched a lot of Professor Zhang videos, so you know better, I suspect. Yeah. What have you done so far? Liked a couple AI Lego videos. Read some Barack Ravid reports from Axios. Is that what happened? Is that the active knowledge that you have on the situation? Because, you know, a lot of my work is being done in broad daylight. You can come in and learn a thing or two here when you actually watch the broadcast. When I do interview people like Trita Parsi, for example. This is a direct question that I have presented to people that have actual figures within the Iranian government that they communicate with. Have you guys done that? I like when people say you're pulling this information out of your ass, but where is your information coming from? I'm not a terrorist. Oh, it's terrorism. It's terrorism to do journalism. Well, you and Donald Trump are in agreement there, buddy. It's terrorism when there's two parts to a conflict and the other sovereign state has official lines of communication and journalists who reach out to them to develop a better understanding of what their position is, as opposed to just posturing like you know better from the American perspective. It's terrorism to have sources. We should punish those journalists, right? Is that the next thing you're going to say? Yeah, dang. Okay. Well, at least you're smart enough to understand how stupid that position was. Yeah. Look how well this has played out so far for the Americans who refuse to actually understand the Iranian side. I think your gas prices are reflective of what happens when we demonstrate this level of hubris, this idea that like, oh no, the Israeli intelligence is enough for us to move on this issue. You know, historic national humiliation, try international humiliation. Anyway. Iran also calls for an immediate end to the fighting and a gradual reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, instead with the U.S. lifting its blockade with nuclear issues negotiated over the next 30 days. Of course, while this is a perfectly understandable deal, Benjamin Netanyahu has a different opinion. Will Donald Trump recognize that Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump's goals here are not in line with one another? I don't know. Netanyahu says it's time to end Israel's reliance on U.S. foreign aid. That's never going to happen. Iran can only negotiate over their uranium effectively while the strait is closed, and we get closer every day to oil reserves dwindling. 30 days of oil throughout the strait means they lose that. Why would Iran ever accept a negotiation ceasefire that makes them lose leverage over the thing they need to negotiate? Yes. No, you're absolutely right. Obviously, the Iranians are not super invested in like going back and having potentially their power plants blown up, right, by the American and the Israeli air forces. However, Iran does understand that they have a lot of leverage here. Time is on their side, right? Time is on their side. Their missile stockpiles are not diminished. So, of course, they're going to hold firm. And like I've said, although I was confused as to whether or not Trump would literally go to China, and I think the jury is still out on that. I mean, there's 4 days remaining until the Beijing summit. It's shocking to even see whether or not Donald Trump would go to Beijing. But if they go to Beijing, yes, Iran is going to be the main point of contention. Will Beijing release Iran or concede on America's demands against Iran in exchange for an easing of tensions in the Strait? Not the Strait of Hormuz, but with Taiwan, okay? Will China be happy with a refusal to send larger weapons contracts to Taiwan in exchange for getting Iran to the ceasefire negotiations without extracting maximalist concessions from the American side? You got your shot at the title and you flubbed it? Iran is quick cooked, bro. What? What are you saying? You live comfortably? I do. Do you live comfortably? I mean, I do. Yeah, this is true. Do you live comfortably? I don't think so. Do you like paying $100 extra for your tank of gas? Do you feel like it was necessary? What has been accomplished in this process? Gas prices are higher. Inflation crisis imminent. What has been accomplished? Do you think that's a valuable trade-off? We kill a bunch of Iranian children. We blow up a bunch of Iranian facilities in exchange for higher gas prices in the United States of America, in exchange for billions of dollars of radar equipment that's blown up in retaliation in the region, American bases leveled, American soldiers killed in the process, all so that what? Israel can maintain its ambitious Greater Israel project without having any sort of impediment, like a sovereign Iranian state that could potentially fight back against that project. Omigi went to, what? He's pushing that terrorist crap still. Hassan just banned me from chat. Hassan just banned me from chat. Fuck that bitch pokey she for the streets. Oh God, you're disgusting. Never mind. We'll keep you banned. I don't even think you have any value being entertained like a fucking toy in here. What a pathetic fucking loser this guy is. Holy shit. Sometimes I get angry, but then I think like America's being humiliated by a middle power, a regional power like Iran in broad daylight. And these guys are too stupid to even recognize that. What a sad, sad, pathetic state of existence. Anyway, we'll cover the Chinese angle here, but here's what Barack IDF 8200 Ravid said. President Trump told me that he spoke with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this evening and discussed the Iranian response with him. However, he emphasized that it was a brief part of the conversation. It was a very nice conversation. We had a good relationship. But this is my business, not anyone else's, he said in reference to the negotiations with Iran. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, totally. President Trump told me in a phone call that he does not like Iran's latest response to the draft agreement to end the war. Their response is not worthy, he said. What does it mean when Trump rushed to call his boss Netanyahu after rejecting the Iran deal? Yeah, or before rejecting the Iran deal. Robert Kagan says that the U.S. has been checkmated into defeat in Iran. Robert Kagan, oh my God. Which has seemed obvious since at least early March. But he sees the consequences as going far beyond the region, triggering a global arms race for naval power as countries seek to devise their own ways to protect their shipping routes since the U.S. maritime security umbrella is no longer effective. The revelations of U.S. industrial capacity shortcomings vis-a-vis munitions may also now tempt other countries to try their luck against a fraying unipolar order. Look at that. Israel is literally destroying American hegemony. Israel has played a pivotal role in forcing America's hand, goading them into doing unbelievably stupid things, which, by the way, of course, is certainly in the hands of this current American administration. Let's be real. Some of these problems are longstanding issues, like defense bloat is not, Trump's problem. It's a issue born out of capitalism, something that I've described over and over again. There's tremendous defense contractor bloat in this country, and that's precisely the reason why, while we have the most expensive military on the planet, more than 8 of our adversaries combined, 8 of our closest adversaries combined, and yet the products that we are able to deliver is not enough to overcome a poor middle power like Iran, a poor regional power like Iran, engaging in asymmetric warfare against the most powerful military on the planet. This is a tremendous defeat for the United States of America. It shows America as a paper tiger, at least to those with eyes to see. Many Americans are deluded. They are completely oblivious to what this means. They don't understand that America is no longer, world police. Yeah, but Robert Kagan is a fringe leftist lunatic. Yeah. He's a Marxist-Leninist, that Robert Kagan. Did you hear Netanyahu wants to put an end on U.S. foreign aid? And I was like, if you want to end it, then why is AIPAC still at USA? True. Bro, we know that we would lose going into this. It's not that we are a paper tiger. We're just not willing to commit 2 million troops, which we would need to take over the country, but that would also be stupid. We are just being led by the dumb and greedy. Buddy, if you're not willing to commit 2 million troops, then you shouldn't commit to fighting any kind of battle whatsoever. You understand? Especially when diplomacy is very clearly an option, especially with Iran. Diplomacy has worked in the past with Iran. If you have any real long-standing goals of chipping away at their nuclear ambitions, if you even believe that they have nuclear arms ambitions at all and aren't simply using uranium enrichment as a point of leverage to draw America back to the negotiations table and to have some kind of leverage in front of the United States of America in exchange for sanctions relief. But none of that matters because we here in the United States of America are losing this fucking war regardless. Anyway, Iran state-backed news agency, Arab News, details Iranian conditions for negotiations with the U.S. following U.S. President Donald J. Trump's reaction that called their response totally unacceptable. The terms are just a reiteration of previous statements, include, but are not limited to, releasing frozen Iranian funds and assets, war reparations, and Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. The implication is also draft. Yes, America currently does not have the troop presence to be able to successfully do a long-standing military occupation of a country that is 4 times larger than Iraq, a country that has 93 million people in it, a country with the topography of a fucking natural fortress, a country that has underground military bunkers, underground missile silos. It's just not going to happen. You don't want to watch American soldiers on the receiving end of those FPV drones, which Iran doesn't really utilize all that much, even though Hezbollah has just recently started utilizing. It's not going to be good for American confidence. It's only going to be worse. Yes, I know. I've read this article from Bloomberg Opinion. China is quietly slashing oil imports and rebalancing the oil markets. The reason why China is doing that is twofold. And before people say, what do you mean rebalancing the oil markets by slashing their imports? They can't even get any of their imports. The strait is locked down. Yes, but China is a massive fucking economic power. They could just purchase all of the other spot traders and the readily available oil that's currently out at sea. They're not doing that. And the reason why they're not doing that is because they understand that if they were to destroy the Asian market, if they were to sit around and consistently out compete and drop oil prices even further, and Japan, for example, would not be able to receive any of those additional barrels of oil that are out at sea currently, then Japan's economy would fucking crumble. And now all of a sudden there is no market for Chinese goods because the Chinese economy is hyper reliant on being a manufacturing hub. Chinese economy is still very much reliant on selling goods to other countries, not only the United States of America, but also Japan, Thailand, and even the Philippines, all of these other countries that are hyper reliant on the additional barrels of oil that are currently out at sea. This is the reason why they've tapped into their strategic oil reserves rather than outcompeting the other countries in the Asian markets for purchasing what is still oil that is readily available to purchase in the market. That's the reason why they're doing it. I gave you a summary of what they're doing. The shift may not have only capped benchmark oil prices, but also triggered a collapse in physical differentials. China is quietly slashing oil imports, an invisible hand that's rebalancing the market in the middle of the Hormuz closure. Yes, big cuts in natural gas usage, power, and very likely the petrochemical industry, plus a huge reduction in imports of LNG. China has increased its imports of Iranian oil, of course, while decreasing their imports of other oil that's readily available out at sea currently, because that's just how oil trading works. I didn't know this beforehand, but apparently there's always additional barrels that are out at sea. I've heard stories about how unbelievably corrupt this industry is, where like you will literally have captains that just put additional barrels in their inventory and sell it directly. There's all these different ways around what the physical commodity actually, what the hard number of the physical commodity that's readily available actually is. Yeah, my dad was a marine engineer and called these his bonuses. So let's get back to Donald Trump. What's my favorite Zyn flavor? Coffee? Yes, it's coffee.
Some breaking news tonight being reported by the Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the response from Iran to the U.S. proposal.
On April 7th at 5:30.
Iran is proposing an end to the fighting and a gradual reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. must lift its blockade of Iranian ports, say the Iranians. Nuclear issues to be negotiated over the next 30 days, another stipulation. Also, Iran proposing to have some of its highly enriched uranium diluted, the rest transferred to a third country, and also Iran willing to suspend enrichment of uranium, but for a shorter period. than the 20-year moratorium being proposed by the administration. And it'll be interesting to see what reaction we'll get to these points by the administration. But earlier today, Iran's military said that if the U.S. was thinking about restarting the war, they better think again. Take a listen.
Today as well, we warn the enemy that if they once again commit aggression and once again fall into a miscalculation, just as they did in the past, and are now in fact paying the price for those past mistakes and bearing the consequences.
Iran's president also sharing a short statement on social media saying in part, "We will never bow our heads before the enemy, and if talk of dialogue or negotiation arises, it does not mean surrender or retreat." Iran also warning any vessels from countries complying with U.S. sanctions will face difficulties crossing the strait. And by the way, in the latest clash in that area, a bulk container ship was hit by an unknown projectile northeast of Doha in Qatar, causing a small fire. And let's not forget that the U.S. is maintaining its blockade of the region. Central Command saying that some 61 commercial vessels have now been redirected. 4 of them have been disabled to ensure compliance. And there you have it, John. The big news tonight, though, is the reporting by the Wall Street Journal, because they are outlining some of the points that Iran has returned through Pakistani negotiators to the Trump administration. We now wait to see the response from the United States. Back to you.
All right, Ashley Webster. Ashley, thanks. For more on the back and forth, let's bring in State Department spokesperson Tommy Pigott. Tommy, can you confirm or at least enhance?
Come on, bro. Tommy Piggis, you can't be looking like that, man. Piggis?
Some of what Ashley Webster had to say about Iran's response to the U.S. plans?
Well, look, I'm not going to get ahead of the President of the United States, but what I can do is reaffirm what has been very clear from the beginning here, and that is that the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. That has been clear from the beginning of this administration, even before from President Trump, who has made that very clear from the beginning. Also, fundamentally, I would point out that the decisive outcomes of Operation Epic Fury have already made the United States safer, including the decimation of their military, the decimation of their military, the decimation of their military and defense industrial capacity. So we're seeing actions from President Trump to back up what he has said. Of course, he prefers
quiet, Piggis.
first diplomatic outcome, as been clear from the beginning. But
okay, I thought his last name was Piggis. It's even funnier that it's Pigott. It feels like they merged bigot and pig. It's an incredible word. I'm going to start calling people pigots. You're not just a bigot, you're a pigot. You're a pig and a bigot. Quiet, Piggott.
he is going to see his objective be fulfilled here, that the Iranian regime can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
They are saying, apparently, that they want 90 days to negotiate something about the nuclear material they possess or their nuclear program. It wouldn't seem that the president would be in favor of something like that.
Well, again, I'm not going to preview what the president made aside, but I think it is important, again, to stress how clear the president has been here on his objectives. He has been very clear from the beginning that the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. He's been very clear about the issue of nuclear dust, as it's commonly called, wanting to see that being given to the United States. The president from the beginning has said that the Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. His actions have made the world safer. And I think the broader point of this here as well is the fact that we're seeing Operation Economic Fury, the fact that the Iranian regime is losing.
Oh, dude, it's maximum cope time all the time on Fox News. This is why they fucking cover me all day, every day, okay? Because honestly, there's nothing. It's not looking good at all if you were to engage in like real news coverage about what's actually taking shape in the Strait of Hormuz. There's not a lot of news coverage that's positive coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. So that's probably the reason why they're engaging in all these distractions.
Hundreds of millions of dollars a day because of the actions that the State Department, Treasury Department, Energy Secretary outlining them recently earlier today have taken to deny the Iranian regime the revenue they need for their malign activities.
Chris Wright is the Energy Secretary, and he said his department is ready to handle the nuclear material that is somewhere in Iran. Listen.
Trump is posting clips of Mark Levin arguing for continued pressure on Iran on Truth Social. Bro, I'm serious. Donald Trump is the most compromised. Donald Trump is the most pro-Israel president we've ever had. He is the most compromised president on the issue of Israel. It's actually unbelievable. The only people that he promotes is, people like Mark Levin. He straight up not only has Witkoff and Kushner on the negotiations team, but now he's brought in a direct FDD guy onto the negotiations team. FDD, as you all know at this point, is an Israeli cutout. Its original name was called Emmett, founded in 2001 with the express purpose of fighting, making America more pro-Israel, right? Hezbollah claims strike on Iron Dome battery in Lebanon, Israel border. Hezbollah's military wing released footage Sunday claiming a strike on an Iron Dome air defense platform and his crew at the Jal al-Alam site on the border. Carried across 2 separate attack maneuvers on May 7th. Sheesh. The FPV, these guys have learned how to fucking maneuver these FPVs so fast. It's actually crazy. It makes me feel like they got some Ukrainians on their side somehow. You know what I mean? First FPV footage that was coming out of the Hezbollah side was like kind of dog shit. You could tell that they were shaky. They didn't know how to like fly this stuff around. A couple weeks later, they're just lasering Israeli targets, lasering Israeli troops who are totally not used to this line of attack, by the way. I mean, it took the Russians years to create comprehensive measures against drone strikes. Now they know. They have like drills. Sometimes you'll see like Russian special forces in pickup trucks. As soon as they see a drone come, they get out of the car, they separate, right? And they start shooting at the drone. Sometimes they're successful in downing these drones. The Israelis are not used to it at all. And it will take time for the Israelis to get used to the FPV drone fire. Don't give the IDF any ideas. Oh my God. Buddy, this is just, modern warfare that you can see on your timeline. If I can see it, I'm sure Israeli generals who are 18 years old can also see it, This is not like deep secrets. Why do you think they have those fucking nets all over their vehicles in Ukraine and all around the streets that they cross? Here's Levin's statement that Trump reposted. 11 minutes. Ugh. You hear Zelensky said the Ukrainian army captured the first Russian position in the history of the war with only air and drone land forces? Yes, I did. They also used autonomous vehicles too. They didn't even use a single troop, if I'm not mistaken. This also speaks to Hezbollah intelligence IDF targets, presumably from Israeli drones that the Israelis are also incapable of countering. Hezbollah has published footage of multiple FPV strikes on the Iron Dome battery and its crew. That's crazy. Lots of security issues in Lebanon. Yeah. IDF is only used to murdering children. So makes sense that they'd have a hard time fighting against a more competent paramilitary force like Hezbollah. And Hezbollah for many, many years, their military doctrine revolved around ATGMs, okay? And they got really good at it. And that's the reason why whenever Israel rolls Merkava tanks into Lebanese territory, you hear about Merkava tanks getting murked over and over again. They are the best at ambush operations with ATGMs. They studied it, they learned it, and very quickly they adapted to drone warfare as well. Maybe some would say it took a long time for them to adapt to drone warfare. The fact that they are now dishing out FPV drone footage that Hezbollah is utilizing against Israeli troops, against Israeli Merkava tanks, against Israeli Iron Dome battery points, like it shows that they are highly adaptable to modern combat conditions. They're taking advantage of the readily available, sometimes commercial drone products that they can use in an effort to mount significant defensive counters to Israeli incursion in Lebanese territory. Hezbollah also uses that crazy Iranian-made double ATGM launcher that's basically 2 missiles sent at the same time. Yes, the reason why they have a double ATGM launcher is because of the trophy system that the Merkava tanks have, which can withstand at least one fire, one attack, but they can't withstand 2 at the same time. So that's the reason why you see in Hamas footage inside of Gaza, whenever they're hitting Merkava tanks, unless they're just like directly dropping an IED, like a bathtub-made missile or a bathtub-made explosive ordnance directly inside of like an open lid in a Merkava tank, usually you'll see 3 different angles of attack on a Merkava tank because those tanks have a trophy system that can withstand at least 1 rocket, but can't usually defend against 2. So they'll hit it from 3 different angles, 1 to distract, and then the other 2 to specifically hit 2 rockets on a Merkava tank at the same time. Of course, Hezbollah is much better equipped than Hamas is, so they can get, or they used to be able to get Iranian weapons by way of Syria, and they have better systems. This is funny. Atlantic from Robert Kagan. Pro-Israel people are now calling famous neocon Robert Kagan an Iranian agent. The U.S. is effectively checkmated in Iran, and this defeat will carry lasting consequences unlike any America's endured before, Robert Kagan argues. What a surprise. An article in The Atlantic paid for by the IRGC. The esteemed IRGC general, Robert fucking Kagan. Dude, the Atlanticists have dropped the pro war with Iran messaging. It seems to me right now, this is a little bit inside baseball here for you guys, okay? There are numerous think tanks in Capitol Hill, and they all want to wage war with Iran to varying degrees for the last 47 years. Atlantic is obviously pro-war with Iran as well, or used to be, not anymore. Okay? The Atlantic Council, with the exception of, I would say, like sometimes with the Brookings Institute and certainly the Quincy Institute, most of the think tanks in Washington, D.C. that revolve around foreign policy have always been unbelievably pro-Israel and also unbelievably in favor of waging war against Iran. But since Operation Epic Pedophiles Fury, Operation Epstein's Fury started, they very quickly realized that this wasn't going the way that they predicted it to go. Okay? So the ones who are at least smart enough to maintain some semblance of credibility turned around and said, this is an epic failure. We got to pull out. Okay? Yeah, Operation Epic Fiasco. With the exception of like Quincy Institute that has always been ideologically against waging wars in general, many of these think tanks used to be pro going to war with Iran. Now they're all fucking saying we have to pull out. This is Operation Epic Failure. Please pull out. What the fuck? With one exception, the Foundation for Defending Democracy. Okay, the FDD. Benjamin Netanyahu's personal cum bucket, aside from Donald Trump and basically the entirety of our political class. The FDD is very specific, okay? Its entire purpose is to merge Israeli foreign policy goals into American foreign policy, okay? And Donald Trump seemingly only listens to the FDD guys. Every other think tank guy is literally going, please stop. What are we doing? You are ruining our fucking project of American hegemony. We have maintained free trade in every waterway for basically the last, 60, 70, 80 years, and you are ruining this project. Yeah, CIP and Quincy are the only 2 think tanks that are like, anti-war, okay? And of course, they don't get a lot of mileage in DC because of that position, because they're, they don't have the same level of funding that these other think tanks do, because these other think tanks are getting funded by Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and the like. And there's not a lot of investment or interest in an anti-war foreign policy think tank. However, people like Robert Kagan are literally, they're neocons. Like they are, Robert Kagan was one of the godfathers of the neocon movement, okay? You got Bill Kristol and Robert Kagan both saying, what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing? Pull out, pull out, pull out. This is a failure. And now Zionists are saying Robert fucking Kagan, who recently wrote that perhaps 9/11 was because America fucked around and found out only a month ago, which was really funny to hear from Robert fucking Kagan, is now saying what we've been saying for months, what I've been saying for months, which is that it's over. It's over. Fucking pull out. Pull out. We're bleeding. Stop the bleeding, please. Stop the fucking bleeding. We will, if you keep going at the rate that we're going, we will no longer be in contention for a multi-power world, okay? That's it. America has been ritualistically humiliated by a middle power, a regional power that has an economy the fraction of the United States, an economy that has been completely dominated by the SWIFT system and the sanctions by the United States of America without ever firing a single shot. It's over. Trump, don't listen to those pussies. We got this, bro. Yeah, I mean, if I'm an accelerationist, I'm eating good these days, okay? If I am an accelerationist, I'm eating good. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm a Maoist third worldist. And as a Maoist third worldist, let's be real. What Donald Trump is doing is unbelievably good for destroying American empire. It's true. It's objectively true. Donald Trump, secret Maoist third worldist. J.D. Pandon saying permanent first world genocide. We will never stop until the suburbs are screaming bloody murder. Donald Trump, who says, my war is not with the American ruling class. My war is the American working class. I will make the suburbs scream. I will make the American working class scream. Scream bloody murder for the crimes that the American working class has committed against the people of the third world, the nations in the periphery. Unequal exchange will work in the opposite direction. I, Donald Trump, will make sure of it. I, Donald Trump, will eviscerate the labor aristocracy. The imperial core has dominated the world through unequal exchange, through parasitic capital and the forces that are servile to the interests of parasitic capital like the IMF and the World Bank. We will turn around and we will awaken the revolutionary third worldist principles. Okay?
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
What the fuck are these emotes, man? Mohammed Marandi emote on Twitch this is a deeply unserious community. I'm sorry. We've lost the fucking plot, dude. Come on. He's so online, he might even see this. Okay, that's so funny. Zoom out. Marandi is the only Taurus I like. That's funny. How much PBS you think he watch every day? Bro, Professor Marandi, if you're watching, you better subscribe and also give subs, okay? That's bullshit. No more freeloading, okay? Subscribe to the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service. Yeah, Donald Trump said we must proceed with Jusha, the ideology that revolves around self-reliance. Anyway, Trump is trapped in escalation and maximalism with Iran. As long as this is the case, he can't make a deal. He lacks the mindset for compromises real diplomacy requires. His legacy will ultimately be another failed U.S. Middle East war built on hubris and lies. This is from Sina Tusi, the other think tank that I was talking about, Center for International Policy. Center for International Policy, and then Trita Parsi is the EVP of Quincy Institute. Those are the two main anti-war think tanks, which get only motion in places like here, Democracy Now!, independent media in general, and virtually no mainstream media promotion at all. Okay? They're objectively closer to the correct side on American foreign policy, and yet They get very little airtime on ABC, CBS, CNN, and all these other outlets. They have recently gotten more airtime on these outlets because even the American owner class is starting to recognize that this much instability perhaps is not good for American profit seekers, right? Hello. 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 Murat was staying in my house last night, and I had a little freak out because I couldn't find. I came back home late, and I couldn't find Kaya, and I was very scared. I thought she was lost or something, and everyone was sleeping. So I was just like texting people. I didn't like look in the other rooms in the house. I don't have like a necessarily large house, but I should have probably looked in the other rooms. But I woke up in the morning in a panic state because I had thought that my mom had taken Kaya, and they were all like, no. And then I called them at 6 a.m. and Murat was like, no, she's in the bed with me. Kaya, come here. Come here. You want to go outside, huh? You want to go outside? You want to go outside, lady? You want to go outside? You want to hang out with the family? Is that what you want to do? Kaya, come here. Oh. Look at this big lady. Hold on, let me get a little couple pets in here. You didn't do Mother's Day stuff? Yeah, I'm doing dinner with the whole family. They're prepping it right now, actually. Let the baby out. Let the baby out. Okay, I want to let the baby out. Oh, she likes it. She loves when I scratch her back like this. Oh, yes. I'm a little bit of a mom myself. I was MPreg with Kaya. That's right. You could have used a shock collar to locate Kaya. Yeah, that's true. Who's to say I didn't? Anyway, happy Mother's Day to me and to all the mothers. My 11 gallons in Costco this morning minus one AAA video game for this month until the war ends. Nice. But don't you think that it's for a good purpose, a higher purpose, one that is perhaps the most important purpose, which is advancing Israel's goals in the region, allowing Israel to continue the greater Israeli project unimpeded? Who amongst us has not heard Mike Huckabee's words and thought to themselves, well, this guy's making a lot of sense. A lot of fucking good ideas from Mike Huckabee. I am in agreement. I myself am one of those people, of course. I would never say such anti-Semitic things as we must rein in Israel. We must hold Israel accountable for its war crimes. We must do an arms embargo in Israel. These are very anti-Semitic thoughts. You should get them out of your head. Where I live in Luxembourg and it's so clutch to have completely free public transport nationwide. Stop flexing. Stop fucking flexing. I don't want to hear from Euroids here, okay? You're about to have an imminent jet fuel crisis soon, in any case. Us Americans, we don't know what public transit is. Us Americans have never understood the concept of public transit. We all have gas-guzzling behemoths that we all drive 40 miles both ways, at least, minimum, every fucking day. Ford F-450s. And we like paying extra for our gas because it's patriotic. Calling Luxembourg a nation is fucking pushing it. City-state ass motherfuckers. True. The bigger the monstrosity, the bigger the behemoth, the freer the person. Everybody knows this. Breaking, Iran demanded war reparations, removal of sanctions, unfreezing of assets, and control over the Strait of Hormuz as a part of his rejection of the U.S. proposal, according to state media. Totally reasonable and just demands from the Iranian side, of course, but classic American engineering here. It dictates that we can't concede in any way, shape, or form, even though they hold the fucking cards here. The Iranian counterproposal is publicly rejected by Trump, but if Wall Street Journal reporting is correct, Tehran is trying to move closer to U.S. demands, but not fully. The U.S. demands that the entire Iranian stockpile be shipped out of the country. In the past, Tehran rejected shipping any of it out and only agreed to downblending it. In its latest proposal, however, it offers to have some of it diluted and the rest shipped to a third country. The third country? The Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Just kidding. Probably not, but that would be very funny if they were like, yeah, sure, we'll ship it to a third country, the DPRK. As I understand it, though, this is not reported by the Wall Street Journal. Iran is also offering to accept an arrangement in which it will not need to enrich uranium at all for 12 years. This is not the 15 to 20 years Trump originally wanted, but longer than the 3 to 5 years Tehran originally offered. Read the full analysis on my Substack. Yeah, 12 is so funny. Iran was like, Trump was like, we won't do 20, we'll do 15. Tehran was like, we'll do 5. And now they've arrived at 12. They're going to end at 10, you know? China, ship it to China. True. Art of the deal, baby. Art of the fucking deal. Art of the deal. So JCPOA? No, it's not JCPOA. The deal, the terms on the Iranian side, no matter what, will be infinitely more favorable to Iran than the JCPOA. And the reason is because Iran now has more leverage than it did before America attacked Iran. So if they maintain some semblance of control, a toll system over the Strait of Hormuz, for example, that's unbelievably favorable, far better than JCPOA. They are trying to get all of the sanctions removed, again, including the American ones, which is better than the JCPOA, but also more favorable to Trump because Trump is a businessman. He likes doing business deals. This means he can do a fucking Trump Tower in Tehran, right? Like that's better than the JCPOA, okay? Unfreezing all of the Iranian assets far better than the JCPOA. The JCPOA unfroze like what, $1.5 billion in assets is a huge deal. We're talking how many billions? I think they have like, America was previously saying that they were just to show good faith, they were going to unfreeze $20 billion in assets. That's a much larger number. The total number, I believe, is to the tune of $100 billion, if I'm not mistaken. You guys can correct me on that, but that's a huge number. I believe the total global assets of Iran that are frozen currently after they did some deals with other countries that America decided to intercept are approximately $100 billion. If they can get $100 billion, it's incredibly favorable to Iran. Once again, I think these are all good, just, understandable commitments that will create longstanding peace. And I am, of course, in favor of them. I'm in favor of all of these conditions. I think that is the correct thing to do. Okay? Dealing with Iran as a sovereign state through diplomacy is an infinitely better proposal than trying to wage military war against the nation state of Iran and trying to destroy Iran. So, yes. Let's send them pallets of cash, baby. I'm totally in favor. Let's do it.
The nuclear expertise in the United States is within my department.
Why don't you know the number? Aren't you the numbers guy, Patrick Bet-David? I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy. Game of Thrones. I'm watching Game of Thrones, and I see Joffrey, and I think to myself, this guy, if I see him in public, I'm saying, oh, Joffrey, we are fighting. I'm a numbers guy. That's why I say, let's grok it. Why not grok it? Why not ChatGPT it? I'm a numbers I'm a numbers guy.
They are ready. They've been monitoring what's happening in Iran, and they've been involved in the dialogues about how would we handle this material, where would we take it, what would we do with it. But that is a critical thing. Iran has nearly 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched to 60%, so close to weapons grade, way higher than any potential commercial use of it.
So a country that has, more oil than just about anybody else in the world, the president says doesn't really need nuclear material at this point.
Well, 2 points here. First is we've seen an Iranian regime that for too long has not spent their vast wealth on energy infrastructure, on food for their people, on water for their people, and instead has used it on malign activities, a nuclear weapons program, funding their terrorist proxies around the region. These are all things that are being addressed by President Trump's maximum pressure policy to deny them the funds to do those malign activities. I think what's also important to point out here is the overall context of the fact that we have diplomacy from the beginning of this administration. We saw Operation Midnight Hammer. Diplomacy was opened yet again. We saw the decisive outcomes of Operation Epic Fury. President Trump means what he says. He means what he says when the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so the president has said that, for all intents and purposes, Epic Fury is over, that hostilities have ended. Therefore, he doesn't need an authorization for the use of military force from Congress. But Doesn't seem like the Iranians are moving. Is there going to be the likelihood of new attacks? What happens? Does he call it a new war?
Well, 2 points here. First, as the Secretary of State has described, the activity we have seen recently has been defensive on the part of the United States. Of course, if we see our equities, if we see U.S. military service members, our ships come under attack, we're going to stop that. We're going to prevent that. That's defensive action on part of the United States. Of course, we're going to defend and stop any attacks on U.S. military ships. That's common sense. We're going to keep doing that, as the Secretary of State has described. What we're seeing now, though, from Operation Epic Fury is when this operation started, the president outlined clear objectives. I discussed a few of those a few moments ago. The destruction of their Navy, the decimation of their Air Force, their missile capacity, their defense industrial base. We have seen those objectives be fulfilled. So now we're seeing this blockade of our Iranian ports. We're seeing Operation Economic Fury. We're seeing the denial of hundreds of millions of dollars to the Iranian regime. But fundamentally, it comes back to this point. The president wants to see a deal here, but he will see his objective be fulfilled, that the Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. The president means what he says, and he has proven it again and again.
As you and I have been talking, Tommy, the president just posted this on Truth Social. He writes, "I have just read the response from Iran's so-called representatives. I don't like it. Totally unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." So I guess it's back to the drawing board. We'll see what the president decides to do from here. Any predictions, Tommy?
Well, I'm not going to be in the prediction business. I think the president's stating it very clearly there. Again, distress. Our objectives here have been very clear from the beginning. There is no guessing what the president wants here. That is, the Iranian regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. And I think another important point is we saw under the Obama administration a bad deal that gave the Iranian regime a roadmap to a nuclear weapon. President Trump is going to make a good deal for the American people that protects the United States, the world, and future generations.
Tommy Pigott from the State Department. We appreciate your time today. Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks for having me on.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Is the war with Iran over? And if it isn't, who will decide?
Quiet, Pickett. Okay, so Barry Weiss's pro-Israeli operation, CBS News, specifically 60 Minutes, has decided to offer 60 Minutes to neo-Nazi Benjamin Netanyahu. It wasn't enough. We didn't really get to hear from him enough. It's not enough that he just fucking basically dominates American foreign policy. Did you already see this article? I got the intercept from the... Oh, yeah. Hassan Parker is the Democrats' new man of the trail, whether they like it or not. I haven't read it on stream, but I promoted it on Instagram. What is this? North Korea has changed its constitution to mandate an automatic nuclear strike if Kim Jong-un is killed or incapacitated by a foreign attack. Under the revised law, if command over North Korea's nuclear forces threaten, the military must launch a retaliatory nuclear strike immediately. That's my goat right there, dude. That's my motherfucking goat, dude. That's the real president, okay? Here, let's run one at least. Let's run one Jusha edit.
결코 나와 우리 국가를 상대로
Okay, let's run another one.
I just wanted you to know that baby.
I wonder how you arrive at this level of brain rot. I genuinely want to understand. Oh, this is the best one. I know exactly which one this is.
When you're outside in my mind, 'cause sometimes I look in her eyes and that's where I find a glimpse of us, and I try to fall for her touch, but I'm thinking of the way you are. Said I'm fine and said I moved on. I'm only here passing time in her arms. Oh, baby.
Yeah, just straight up ripping lung darts while watching a fucking a test launch of a nuke. All glory to the DPRK, man. What a time to be alive, dude. Why are you screwing up my VOD? Fuck you, Hassan. What do you mean you're VOD? What are you talking about? We should have known. We should have known. We love you, Kim. Check this one out. God, how do people arrive at like this level of fandom for? It's very interesting. It's just like unbelievable levels of brain rot. Like there are those who obviously love Deng Xiaoping. Okay. There are those who are abiding by Xi Jinping thought. There are those who love Mao. But it's objectively strange to be like, Jiang Zemin is my guy. Like that's the guy I chose out of all of the different formations of or all of the different instances of Chinese development. Very interesting. Not to say that he's irrelevant. Of course, like every Zhou Enlai was the GOAT. It's called love. You wouldn't get it. I'm actually a Lin Bao head. Oh, excuse me. We don't talk about that around these parts. Okay. We don't talk about Lin Bao like that. I'm a fucking Zhou Enlai guy. Enlai guy. Enlai is fucking basic. Why would they even have fans when they can't even dunk? I think Mao could have dunked if he tried. He just never did, but he could. I guess it's not as strange as being like a Gonzalo thought guy. You know what I mean? There's different strokes for different folks. This one has 52,000 likes, by the way.
I am someone else instead. In my head, in my head, in my head, in my head.
Peru mentioned. Okay. Yeah, but at what cost? Anyway, we're done. We're done looking at these guys farming aura. Okay, where the fuck were we? Oh, let's get back to the real president. Unfortunately, boo, boo. now that we looked at communist leadership aura edits. Let's get back to the great American capitalist reactionary pedophilic satanic cabal rulership that we exist under. Let's get back to reality. The petro-capitalist pedophile class that dominates every facet of our existence. Here we are.
Decide when it is.
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel, special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me, I want to go in there, and I think it can.
Oh. Yeah, not what I told President Trump. In the brief moment that he stopped sucking, looked up at me and said, you're the real king, you're the real president, Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay. When he stopped sucking for a brief moment, he said, yes, sir, I will go in personally.
Be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them because I'm not going to talk about our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission.
Do you believe it's time?
He even has the evil guy comb over. Yeah, no, I think it's a flex. I think he's assumed a Hitler haircut just to make all of us crazy. Okay. I'm not even kidding. I think it's a flex. It's like, what are you going to say about it? Go ahead. Go ahead. Disrespect the real American president, Benjamin Netanyahu, Philadelphia's very own Benjamin Netanyahu. Go ahead. I'll get you fired from your job. Go ahead. Point out the fact that I have the same haircut as Adolf Hitler.
State of Israel to re-examine and
Yeah, we'll know when the transformation is complete when he just like randomly shows up with the Hitler mustache as well. If he takes it to that level, you'll know he's just flexing on us.
possibly reset its financial relationship to the United States, meaning what the United States provides to Israel on an annual basis?
Absolutely. And I've said this to President Trump. I've said it to our own people. Their jaws dropped. But I said, look.
Well, what do you mean? What are you saying?
I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation that we have, because we receive $3.8 billion a year.
Yeah. The next memorandum of understanding, $0. Okay, that's great. How about a fucking arms embargo? How about some goddamn accountability? Do we like that? I'm in favor. Okay, this whole like, oh, the tax dollars that we're sending to Israel is now becoming a liability argument is sweet. Okay, sweet. Glad you recognize that that's a big fucking domestic policy issue, right? It's a big issue for Americans. But what they don't understand in this situation is that the underlying demand here is not simply to stop giving money to Israel. That's a huge demand. It makes total sense that people are making that demand. But the ask goes beyond that. The underlying reason for why people want to stop this is because we want to bring Israel to heel. Okay? Yeah. Now that Benjamin Netanyahu is also in favor of cutting military aid, which, by the way, I don't even think he is. I think they're just lying. Because there's always a way that the Pentagon will continue supporting Israel. I mean, they've done this before. There have been instances where, like, there are different secret budgets within the Pentagon where they'll reappropriate the assets and will consistently sell Israel jet fuel, for example. Like, this has always been the modus operandi. But regardless, when he says the goal here is to, no longer need to rely on American aid, American support. Yeah, they will always circumvent. They will always find a way. The real goal here is to not only do an arms embargo against Israel, but also punish Israel, hold Israel accountable.
And I think that it's time that we weaned ourselves from the remaining military support.
Can you give me a timetable?
I said, let's start now and do it over the next decade, over the next 10 years. But I want to start now. I don't want to wait for the next Congress. I want to start now. It could go down very fast.
Donald Trump on Iran, full measure with Cheryl Atkinson. Full interview, Donald Trump on Iran, government investigation into the NFL and midterm elections. Sorry for the loud bang there.
This week, prospects for talks to end the Mideast conflict between the U.S. and Iran. But it's difficult diplomacy.
They make a deal and then they break it. Then they make a deal, they break it. It's a difficult group.
President Trump joins me for an exclusive interview on the one story that has the world's attention.
So is it accurate to say you think the combat operations are over and done, but there
No,
may
I
be...
didn't say that. I said they are defeated, but that doesn't mean they're done.
We cover concerns foreign and domestic.
How do you feel today about the Republicans' chance in the midterms?
And even tackle all American issues.
Your Justice Department is investigating the NFL. Do you think this is price gouging on America's favorite sport?
If they're making a lot of money, they could make a little bit less, and they could be...
This week, my White House interview with President Trump.
Thank you for joining us on Full Measure.
Thank you.
First of all, we're glad that you are safe and that your family's safe after the latest attempt on your life. How are you and the family doing?
Very good. It was an interesting evening, but I felt very secure, and I think Secret Service did a very good job.
The judge apologized to the suspect for the treatment that he's gotten in jail.
Well, I heard that. And then after watching that, they went back a couple of years, and he was very apologetic to another suspect who I didn't even know about, but he was also, the same judge was very apologetic to somebody else having to do with a similar subject. And not even believable, actually.
On Iran, would you say the war is over? Is it paused? Or is it very much active?
Well, they're militarily defeated. In their own minds, maybe they don't know that, but I think they do because I deal with them. And we cannot ever let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But they are militarily defeated. They have no navy. They have no air force. They have no anti-aircraft weaponry. They have no radar. They have no leaders. Their leaders are gone. The first set, the A team is gone, the B team is gone, and part of the C team is gone. But I think we're dealing with people that have a certain power. It's very interesting because, you know, they make a deal and then they break it, then they make a deal, they break it. It's a difficult group. But from a military standpoint, I mean, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild.
Where are we in the war if we've not yet gotten the nuclear materials, the enriched uranium from them?
Well, we'll get that at some point, whatever we want. We have it surveilled. You know, I did a thing called Space Force, and they are watching that if somebody walked in, they can tell you his name, his address, the number of his badge. No, we have that very well surveilled. If anybody got near the place, we will know about it, and we'll blow them up. We'll blow them up.
So is it accurate to say you think the combat operations are over and done, but there
No,
may
I
be...
didn't say that. I said they are defeated, but that doesn't mean they're done. We could go in for 2 more weeks and do every single target. We have certain targets that we wanted to, and we've done probably 70% of them. But we have other targets that we could conceivably hit. But even if we didn't do that, you know, that would just be final touches. But even if we didn't do that, it would take them many years to rebuild.
Few politicians, I think, would be prepared to take a political hit on something as important to so many Americans as oil and gas prices in the short term, even for something very important in the long term.
Yeah.
The political and media climate, I don't think they really allow for this sort of thing. They want immediate reactions and responses to things.
Well, I think it's easy when I say it and somebody like you says, you know, answer that question and gives me a couple of seconds. It's really easy to answer. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon because they're crazy. We cannot let them have access to nuclear. Obama did it. If I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal, they would have had it. And they would have used it on Israel and the Middle East right now, and maybe beyond. You know, they actually had rockets that you saw that the other day that could reach Europe. They would have used it 100%. And by the way, not 50% or 100%. They would have used it. They were dying to get it then. So I took Barack Hussein Obama's horrible Iran nuclear deal. I terminated it at my first term.
Totally. China sent man pads. Iran is playing us like a fiddle. Sleepy Trump. I don't know if they have. I mean, they have the railways, so it would be totally justifiable if China did do that. What is this? Mao Zedong grandma.
POV. Comrade Kim Jong-un inspects citizens to ensure that they are having fun. Yes, everyone must have a good time in North Korea.
Move to North Korea. God damn, dude. How does this happen? I just don't get it. I mean, whatever floats people's boats, right? It should be illegal for China to make cars. I can't believe the mods aren't doing something about this. Oh, yeah, this is awesome. No wonder you're a filthy commie. This is what you played as a child.
So I hear Amanda mistook you for Che Guevara, Snake.
Yeah, I mean, this is... by the way, that has 318,000 likes. How is this possible, bro? I've heard working under pressure. I've never heard fun under pressure. Hello. Yes, hello. It is me, Mr. Fun. Exclusive. U.S. intelligence indicates China is preparing weapon shipment to Iran amid fragile ceasefire, sources say. Hey. Why do we get to have a say here? Okay. Does Iran have a right to defend itself? I certainly think so. They do. Okay. If this is from April 11th, by the way, this is last month. This is not from tomorrow. This is from last month. But I think that that assessment was not happening. Delivery would be by land too. Yes, they would use the railroads if they were to deliver anything successfully, in my opinion. So we'll see. I don't know. But we'll find out if America chooses to wage war with Iran again. So I still am shocked that Trump is doing this summit, by the way. I think it's a real weakness for Donald Trump to continue with the summit. It basically proves that Trump is not only in a weakened position against Iran, but certainly against China as well. Because they've delayed it one time. The Chinese got real mad at that. So I feel like there isn't, if they can't even delay it a second time, I think this is horribly bad.
Out Soleimani, very important. If you didn't knock out Soleimani, I think it would have been a different country. It would have been more competent, but he was an evil genius, but he was an evil guy. The roadside bombs, etc., killed many, many people, maimed so many people, the legs, the arms, the face. So that was a big thing. I took him out. And then very big, I don't know, they're all so important if you think. I'm thinking which is the most, but when those beautiful B-2 bombers attacked 8 months ago and attacked their potential nuclear site, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks if we didn't. That's why I had to go in. I knew that they were going to have a nuclear weapon. And we obliterated their, I call it the nuclear dust. There's a lot of nuclear dust. But we obliterated the site at 1 o'clock in the morning with no moon. You couldn't see a thing. And they went in and stealth. They went in and they did their job. They dropped those bombs and they landed perfectly, and it just obliterated. If we didn't do that, they would have already blown up Israel, in my opinion. Israel would have been blown up with a nuclear weapon.
What's next in light of all of this for the U.S. and NATO?
Well, NATO has proven to be a paper tiger. They weren't there to help. You know, this is the interesting thing is many of those NATO countries we don't use the Strait. We don't need it. In fact, boats are coming up to Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska and filling up with oil. We don't need the Strait. We were doing it to help Israel and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE and others. We don't need it. It's an amazing, we don't use it. We had 1% and we did that as a favor. And we're now producing more oil and gas than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together. Think of that, Cheryl. If you take everything that Russia does, everything that Saudi Arabia puts out, we produce much more oil and gas than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together. And by the end of this year, that number will probably double.
On some domestic issues, one of them a lot of people are interested in involving the NFL. Your Justice Department is investigating the NFL for moving a lot of viewers from free broadcast television into more expensive pay programming like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Peacock, and YouTube, where the NFL makes more money. Do you think this is price gouging on America's favorite sport? Should the government do anything about it?
It's tough. You got people that love football. They're great people. They don't make enough money to go and pay this. It's tough. And they could be...
Bro, why does he sound and look like this, by the way? Trump with a triple scroller on Truth Social ripping Justice Gorsuch and ACB. With certain Republican nominated justices we have on the Supreme Court, the Democrats don't really have to pack the court any longer. I should be the one wanting to pack the court. Why does he sound so defeated? He looks and sounds like shit. What the fuck is happening? They hit him with a ket dart, bro. What's happening?
Killing the golden goose. I mean, they have that stupid kickoff thing that you can't watch. It's unwatchable. I hate the games where they have the new phony kickoff. I don't think it's any safer. I hope college football doesn't do that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not
You're
a
not
big
a football. You are not
viewer.
a football fan. These people know what I'm talking about. They ruin the game, but they have to be careful because, others have tried this, and all of a sudden you don't have a sport anymore. Probably will.
Government will step in and do something.
There's something very sad when they take football away from many, many people. Very sad. I don't like it.
So do you think the government will step in and
I
do
don't know,
something?
but I don't like it. I don't like it. They're making a lot of money. They could make a little bit less. They could let the people see. You have people that live for Sunday. They can't think about anything else, and then all of a sudden they're going to have to pay $1,000 a game. It's crazy, so I'm not happy about it.
More with President Trump from the White House after a short break. How do you feel today about the Republicans' chance in the midterms? And if the Republicans were not to hold control of Congress, how does that change your strategy as president?
Well, they'll find a reason to impeach me, even though a lot of people said I had the greatest first term in the history of it. They'll try and impeach me, probably. But, see, we don't play that game. We don't play like them. They play dirty. They have bad policy. If they had normal policy, they'd be a lot tougher, frankly. But when they have men and women's sports, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone, open borders, so that the
Transgender
world
for
can pour into
everybody.
our country, criminals. We took in 25 million people over the Biden 4 years, and 11,888 were murderers, most of whom, substantially more than 50%, committed more than one murder. Welcome to America. We took in drug dealers and people from mental institutions that were closed up. They would empty entire mental institutions into our country. They would take a mental institution in a South American country, open it up, bring these people into our country, let them go, close the institution in whatever country it may be in, save a fortune. And Biden allowed this to happen. Now we have the strongest borders we've ever had. We have, as you know, for 11 months, they say nobody has come into our country illegally. You know why nobody tries? Nobody makes the trip up. The trip is not worthwhile because they know they're not going to get through. So once they know that, they don't make the trip. But we're running a great country. We're respected by everybody now. Again, we weren't respected. We were a laughingstock for 4 years. We were a very, very unsafe place. Murders are down now to the lowest in 125 years, the year 1900. But we were a country that was a dead country, and now we're the hottest country anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. You look like the hottest leader of the hottest country anywhere in the world. Things are looking really great. And so is Donald Trump. I don't fucking want to hear this bullshit over and over again. Do you guys? I feel like we can skip this shit. Okay. Margaret Brennan, Face the Nation moderator, CBS chief foreign affairs correspondent, says, after hearing the Pentagon classified brief on Iran war impact on U.S. stockpiles, Mark Kelly says it's shocking how deep we have gone into these magazines. He said the Tomahawks, ATACMS, SM-3, THAAD rounds, Patriot rounds, so those interceptor rounds to defend ourselves have been hit hard. He said it will take years to replenish these stockpiles, which could affect hypothetical U.S. conflict with China. Oops. Donald Trump, the great nation builder. Donald Trump, the GOAT. Once again, Donald Trump, the annihilator of American empire. You guys voted for this. You enjoy it. I didn't like what Ro Khanna had to say about China as well. I feel like he's, once again, like we should not be engaging in unnecessary posturing, unnecessary militancy with China. We should be moving away from unnecessary militant posture. It doesn't make any sense. Democrats, especially Democrats that have ambitions for higher office, ambitions for becoming the president, becoming the leader of the Democratic Party, should definitely not in any way, shape, or form in my opinion, talk about fucking war games or saber rattling with China. That is precisely what led us to this Iranian quagmire to begin with. It's just more of the same. With Trump ready to meet Xi, he must get China to buy more of our soybeans, make it clear no Chinese cars in America, stop Chinese companies from abusing workers in the U.S. and competing unfairly. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, look, I do understand trade protectionism, especially when it comes to EV fleets, right? I get that. It's one of the only manufacturing businesses that we have that remains on U.S. soil. I wish we could focus on more competitive builds rather than just trying to outright stop, Chinese fleets from entering U.S. soil. Obviously, I understand why that's the case. You're gonna do that. I mean, every European car manufacturer that tried to do EV fleets is destroyed. Okay, dog, I want to buy a BYD. Shut the fuck up, dude. We can't have our only manufacturing business in the United States be weapons. Okay, we can't. Instead of moving in the direction of F-250s, F-350s, we should be downsizing our vehicles and making more competitive products in general, and also hyper focusing on investment, electrifying our grid. And investment in electric vehicles. Meanwhile, of course, the China menace has destroyed Porsche, and not only Porsche, but also any car manufacturer in Europe that has tried to make competitive EVs. They just simply cannot. They just simply cannot make cars that are as reliable and as affordable as Chinese EVs. Okay, electric vehicles that run on tracks and not roads. We let Detroit do this. Their stupidity was enabled, and the externalities, including death for climate change, is unaccountable. Trade protection around EV is unethical. Meanwhile, Canada is getting 5 BYD dealers and potentially a BYD manufacturing plant in Canada soon.
I want to get your thoughts on the China trip, because you're doing this tour across 3 states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, talking about competition with China. And I want to ask, what do you hope to achieve with that? And how does it relate, if any, to what the president's trying to effort overseas next week?
Well, I heard your earlier report, and I hope the president's going to get a better deal for our soybean farmers. I mean, the reality is that our soybean farmers are hurting, our corn farmers are hurting. We need to have more export markets opened in China and around the world. The second thing we learned is that China has been bringing in investment into the United States and having some of these factories open up that are hiring people who are undocumented, abusing hours. There's a glass manufacturer in Ohio. That cannot go on. The president needs to make it clear to China that they should not be opening up manufacturing in the United States, subsidizing it and violating the law. And the final point is that they shouldn't be engaged in subsidies of their industry and dumping. When I was in Cleveland at the Port of Cleveland, I was horrified to see Chinese steel there. Why aren't we getting that from Cleveland Cliff or an American steel company?
Do you feel that this is a bipartisan issue in Congress?
I do. John Molinar, who's the chair of the China Committee, and I have worked together. We don't want any Chinese-connected cars in the United States. We need to protect American cars. We want to have a steel be American steel, not be importing Chinese steel. And we don't want China playing unfairly. I mean, there's some of these companies that they're setting up in the United States, they're not, they're violating labor laws, and they simply are not competing on a level playing field. And so I'm the top Democrat on the China Committee, and on these issues, I often work closely with John Molinar, who's the chair.
Great.
Dude, every liberal on the timeline, by the way, has, I have to possibly take accountability on this. Trump posted about Roe on Fox. Oh, really? I don't know if it's like what I'm saying or if it's like people being unbelievably stupid or people being cynical. Hassan finds out the majority of his community did not get taught in school about what led to Pearl Harbor, and he's shook. Okay, this is a 59-second clip in which it's just the poll that I ran. Okay, and it was shocking to me that people didn't know about the oil embargo. Okay, what I don't understand is, there's no point where I say that like this, America deserves Pearl Harbor or anything like that. There's no point where I've ever defended Japanese war crimes. I'm actually, I've actually spent a good deal of time educating Americans on the heinous war crimes that Imperial Japan committed. And one of my most like famous things is me receiving a copy of the fucking Red Book in China, which is why a lot of people say constantly that I'm a fucking agent of the CCP. But the very same people that have said that I am a Chinese communist agent are now running around saying critical support for Imperial Japan against American imperialism is one of those weird takes I see floating around leftist circles every 6 months or so. And every time it does, it never ceases to astound me how insular the Western left is. There has never been a moment where I said critical support for fucking Imperial Japan. You imbecile. What the fuck are these people talking about? Why is it that these people literally hear just normal explanations about historical events? Like just an explanation of historical events that unfolded with an actual position on this issue that is not favorable to Imperial Japan whatsoever. Self-described Lockheed liberal can't comprehend hearing about about historical events without assuming it's critical support for the heinous war crimes committed by Imperial Japan. The very same guys that are saying I'm a fucking Maoist are now claiming that I was like in favor of Imperial Japan. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? I can't have a normal conversation about like even events that unfolded while literally justifiably ripping into the heinous fucking shit that Japan did in World War II, only to then turn around and oh my god, Topshi, you went to Japan and okay, I'm actually fucking perma banning you, Topshi. It's not cute nor sweet, okay? Dumbass. Shut your bitch ass up, stupid. Really? You're agreeing with this dipshit? Really? Really funny, dude. Why do I need enemies? Why do I have ideological opposition when I have fucking dumbass LARPers in the chat all the time? Point to any fucking leftist has ever defended Imperial Japan. The very same people that spent months talking about how I'm a fucking agent of the Chinese Communist Party are now falsely fucking claiming that I'm in favor of Imperial Japan. And they know that it's bullshit, but they say it anyway. Yeah, I'm a Maoist and also a fucking Hirohito fan somehow. They have nothing. The owner of what the fuck is this? We should have much lower tolerance for these Nepo baby communists. They might seem incompetent to be dangerous, but they're repopularizing the most dangerous ideology of all time. 100 million people were killed by communism in the 20th century. This is what happens every time communists gain critical power. This is a clip of me, by the way. And Elon Musk goes, absolutely. 82,000 likes. I spent a fucking hour shitting on Imperial Japan, explaining to Americans that don't know about the heinous war crimes of Imperial Japan, specifically in China as well as Korea, exactly what the Japanese did. And these fucking dickheads are literally saying, I'm defending Imperial Japan. It's heinous. It's heinous. It's like saying I fucking... Like, I don't even know what to say. They're like, how much more anti-Imperial Japan could I possibly be by the very same people that say I'm a fucking Maoist? One day, they literally say, I'm a Maoist, even though Mao Zedong killed 100 guerrillion people. And then the next day, they say, I'm actually in favor of Imperial Japan. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah, what's next? Are they going to say I'm fucking pro-Israel too? Like, what the fuck? Oh, it's just Hassan Bad remapped every day. Ain't there already a psycho on Twitter calling pro-Israel? Yeah, but those are fucking commies. Those are communists. I do genuinely feel like you have to understand you are the enemy. Leftist, any lies or misrepresentation or your perspective is virtuous. Yeah, we got to fucking cut it with this like ontologically evil nonsense. Like it's genuinely making people dumber. Okay? It's legitimately making people dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like this is a new one because I've never heard anybody even say that, right? I've never heard a single fucking person even claim that leftists who are sympathetic to sympathetic to Mao, which is what they say about me all the fucking time, turn around and be like, oh, you're actually pro-Imperial Japan. I've never even fucking heard that before. Like, they're talking about me. They're saying I am fucking a defender of Imperial Japan. Me, this guy, okay? This guy. This. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What are you talking about? What are you saying? They don't understand how that's contradictory. I don't get how you can't understand that that's contradictory at all. I guess they're just tugging at people's lack of knowledge on this issue. She just banned you from China, I fear. That's bullshit. I literally got a 10-year visa, baby. I've probably done more to educate Americans on a forgotten chapter, a deliberately forgotten chapter of World War II history, about the heinous fucking crimes in the Sino-Japanese War, for example, that many Americans are oblivious to, which is ironically what I was doing. I was in the process of educating people on what Japan has done. There's literally in the clip, where this fucking dickhead is falsely misrepresenting my position, there is a fucking Chinese flag behind my head. It's right there. What the fuck are you saying? God, this kind of shit pisses me off to no end. I shouldn't openly admit that this pisses me off because a lot of people do it on purpose because they're like, oh, this is what angers Hassan the most. Like, we're just going to keep saying he's like we're going to keep saying he's like pro-Imperial Japan. It's disgusting. Medically stupid baboons. I don't think I can make my position more clear. You know, from the people that brought you, Hassan is unbelievably pro-China because he says we must not wage war with our largest trading partner, China, and must chart a very different path forward, one that revolves around collaboration. Comes Hassan thinks the rape of Nanking is appropriate, or Nanjing. Sky News, China's tech takeover. Is America losing its superpower status?
Donald Trump is heading back to China.
All right, let's do this instead. Yeah, I'm going to be more pro-China now. Suck my dick.
China nearly a decade after his last visit, but this time the stakes are different. 3 industries will decide who dominates the 21st century, and in at least one of them, the US is already behind. So who really is the tech superpower of the world? And has Washington already made a strategic mistake?
I gotta pee.
What better place to start than with AI? Donald Trump first defined it as a race for supremacy.
America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it.
There's no doubt America got the best start, with the best AI chips, whose sale was restricted in China, and the wealthiest AI firms. Their models set the standard. But what happened next blindsided Silicon Valley.
China's leap forward in AI has been described as a Sputnik moment, stunning Silicon Valley and wiping $1 trillion off global stock markets.
DeepSeek wasn't quite as good as America's best chatbots, but the fact Chinese tech talent could make something nearly as good with inferior hardware at a fraction of the cost was a shock to the US AI ecosystem. Fast forward to now, and the latest analysis of leading models shows China's frontier AI still lags a few months behind America, but comfortably matching its pace, and at times out in front. Have a watch of this. A scene involving 2 of America's biggest stars made with a new Chinese model seed dance. It went viral and sent Hollywood into meltdown.
He was a good man! He knew too much about our Russia operations. He had to die.
America still leads, as one expert puts it, with AI brains, where China leads on AI bodies. China's homegrown engineering talent and manufacturing base producing 90% of the world's humanoid robots at a speed and cost US firms can only dream of. As we saw in Berlin last year, American robots may have an edge in innovation and software. We're told this is the first public demonstration of a humanoid robot carrying out an everyday task, in this case, assembling an engine part in a real workplace, and done so entirely autonomously, without human control. Even at the time, I wasn't convinced the human-robot revolution was upon us. Then I saw something that made that much harder to argue. Chinese firm Unitree that built these back-flipping kung fu robots were inspired by leading American designs. But they've made unique innovations, and when it comes to low-cost mass production, would kick America's aspirations if there was a robot war tomorrow. China's centrally planned economy has decided to snatch the robot baton and run with it, not just financing what it sees as key tech, but using it to inspire a tech-literate public. The Beijing half marathon saw humanoid robots lined up alongside real runners, one reportedly breaking the human record by 7 minutes. One hold the US has on Chinese AI is control of the state-of-the-art chips used to build the frontier models. Export bans prevented China from having them, but chip makers and some in the White House argue removing barriers will work to America's advantage by making Chinese AI reliant on American tech. Something China understands too. Its AI firms want the best.
Yeah, this is Jensen Huang's assessment as well. And it's probably smart, but perhaps too late. Chicken nuggies and sauce? No, this is mercimek köfte. It's what's mercimek in English? It's köfte. It's like a vegan kubide, kind of. But what is it? Is it red lentil? Red lentil, yes. It's lentil balls.
Hardware, but Beijing wants its industry to make rival Chinese chips.
人工芯片自主研发有了新突破。
So for now, despite the US easing restrictions, China isn't buying.
My understanding is their cloud companies want to buy these chips.
Of course they do.
And central government has not let them. Chinese central government has not let them as of yet buy the chips because they're trying to keep their investment focused on their own domestic industry. So we have not sold them chips as of yet.
In Mr. Trump's talks with President Xi, we can expect AI hardware to become literal bargaining chips. One thing all tech superpowers need is, well, power, especially in the era of AI. But this is where the real bottleneck appears, and it could decide the entire race. The biggest limiting factor in better AI isn't more or better chips. It's these things. We've been to see the machines powering America's AI boom, gas turbines, with US manufacturers struggling to meet demand. The wait time for one of these used to be about 18 months. It's now closer to 4 years. As the US and Europe is finding out the hard way, their fossil fuel-dominated energy grids are struggling with AI's insatiable thirst for electricity. Not so in China. Though more than half of Chinese electricity still comes from burning coal, clean energy tech, solar, wind and batteries are replacing it and meeting China's growth in demand. Whereas the Trump administration, as we witnessed firsthand, has been actively dismantling US clean tech growth.
We don't do wind because wind is a disaster. It's a very expensive joke, frankly.
In the case of wind farms like this one in New England, halting some projects that are already built. Just a single rotation of this turbine would generate enough electricity to power the average American household for a year. President Drill Baby Drill,
Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill.
is instead backing US fossil fuels. He's expected to lean on China to buy more US oil and gas when he gets to Beijing. But is it a smart long-term strategy? In the first 7 months of last year, China exported $120 billion in clean energy tech, like solar panels, compared to America's $80 billion in exports for oil and gas. Mr. Trump's epic...
That, by the way, 100 billion, 120 billion in Chinese green energy goes a much longer way than 80 billion in oil. Because that, every time they're talking about Chinese exports of renewable energy, they're talking about a permanent mechanism to displace reliance on oil and gas. Because when you get oil and gas, that's a one-time transport that you are going to burn and use and be done with. That means that you are going to have additional demand year over year over year. When you ship one solar panel, that's a one-off purchase that you can use for the rest of your life. So $120 billion in renewable energy exports is ultimately displacing billions of dollars worth of energy trades that could be made. This is the reason why America is anti-renewable energy. Oil is a consumable. Gas is a consumable. Renewable energy is not. There's a, at least as far as we know, infinite amount of solar power coming from the sun. It's free. Of course, solar panels also degrade over time. There's also additional manufacturing needs. There's like going to be repairs and things of that nature. But once again, the main source of energy is coming from a potentially infinite supply, the sun.
Fury hasn't helped. Sure, US oil firms are profiting hugely from oil prices boosted by the Iran conflict, but the shock to global energy markets is driving a scramble for alternatives. Chinese solar exports doubled in March, and exports of its EVs are up 78% in the first quarter. And yes, those EVs.
We have an amazing product to show you tonight.
America, or should that be Elon Musk, was the first to make a globally successful...
So we start blockading the sun, buddy. If you think capitalists could figure out a way to rent out the sun, they wouldn't do it. You're out of your mind. Okay. Of course, if given the opportunity, if the capitalists could place an enclosure around the sun or the wind, they would do it.
Successful electric car. But China's dominance in batteries, it controls between 70 and 90% of the lithium.
Yes, what you're talking about is satellites trying to do giant space mirrors. That's a totally different idiotic project. I know. Like the ones that can take sunlight and ping it back to like a specific location if they want to.
Iron supply chain has put it in the fast lane. For the first time last year, China's BYD sold more electric vehicles globally than Tesla. An impressive acceleration given Musk's firm was making 4 times more cars than its competitor just 6 years ago. So how did China catch up so fast? It has a lot to do with price. In China, Tesla's cheapest model is still 3 to 4 times more expensive than BYD's. To be fair, it has double the range and more than triple the power, but even when matched on specs, there's still a clear price gap. China has heavily subsidized its EV makers, but analysts argue its cars are cheaper due to stronger supply chains and the vertical integration of its industry. The US, however, can be much more confident in another field that will dominate our near future: space.
3, 2, 1.
While Tesla is being usurped by Chinese rivals, Elon Musk's other company, SpaceX, and its commercial rivals in America are way ahead in space. In the last 5 years, the US has pulled ahead of China, last year performing more than twice as many orbital launches, a lead almost entirely down to SpaceX, credited with 85% of all launches last year. But even here, there's a catch, as we found out a few weeks ago in Texas.
This is the iconic, the historic mission control at Houston, where they're controlling the whole of the Artemis operations. Come and take a look.
We have some news to share with you. As of 30 seconds ago, you are now closer to the moon than you are to us on Earth.
America is celebrating sending the first humans back to the moon for more than 50 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Artemis 2 crew.
Well, here at NASA they talk about moon joy, and I guess this is what it looks like. And NASA has plans, fully backed by the president, to land Americans on the moon again as early as 2028. But there's a chance it will be a Chinese flag on the arm of the next human on the moon. China is targeting a crewed lunar landing in 2030. Though it's well behind America's space industry, China has enough know-how to pull off a moon landing that would inspire its citizens and dent the ego of Donald Trump. As with everything else in tech, China is catching up fast. And it's doing it using a playbook America once wrote itself.
Hiroshima had been chosen as the target for the first great blow.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a very funny conspiracy theory on this, where he thinks that we, American, like NASA, knowing full well that American capitalists will never actually engage in the final frontier, the space race, without a market competitor, like a global competitor, chose to actively cut out China in their international cooperation by design, when they didn't even do this for cosmonauts, when they didn't do this for the Soviets, right? Or at least Russians, with the hopes that China would advance their ambitions in the space race, with the hopes that America would justify additional funds to NASA to now compete with China, as we once did with the USSR.
Since World War II,
I think it's a joke more so than anything else, but the truth the underlying truth is still correct, which is that America will never engage in something that isn't like immediately profitable unless there is some kind of international competition.
Success of the state-funded science-led Manhattan Project. The US government supported science and engineering at levels never seen before, credited as a key driver of its 20th century rise to superpowerdom. For the last 2 decades, China has effectively done the same, and within 2 years is expected to surpass the US in public R&D spending. And one set of numbers shows just how much this is paying off. A new analysis of frontier research fields from quantum computing.
Do I care about the space shit? Yes. Of course I care about the space shit. What are you talking about? My brother is literally a rocket scientist. Of course I care about it.
Into superconductors finds in 2003, the US led China in 60 of 64 areas. Now, the tables have turned, with China leading the US in 57 out of the 64.
The next item, sir, is a freeze on all federal hiring, excepting the military and a number of other excluded categories.
Rather than scrambling to win the R&D race, Donald Trump appears to be doing the opposite.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
The White House cut $4 billion, half the budget of the National Science Foundation, America's science funding body. And Mr. Trump has just sacked the entire National Science Board, planning to replace 22 of the most preeminent...
Not counting the satellites that monitor Earth, what is the utility of space exploration? The scientific discovery process alone is responsible for so many things that you currently take advantage of, like you know, the suits that firefighters use, your microwave. Like, it's science, man. What kind of fucking idiotic caveman mentality is this? The idea that, like, oh, why do we care about unlocking new mysteries through scientific experimentation? I find it shocking when people say stuff like that, because it's like antithetical to human nature almost. Not to make a naturalistic argument, but if there's a couple identifiable features of mankind, it's that we are endlessly curious and try to understand certain things that are inexplicable right now. That is how society has progressed over time. That's why we have all of these new technologies that we take for granted that have dramatically improved our lives. Space exploration is considered the final frontier for that reason. I don't understand how anyone could point to that and go, why the fuck are we spending money on this, dude? This sucks. I know, Whitey on the moon, I know. But you can do both. The USSR was capable of doing both, as a matter of fact.
US scientists charged with steering its future with...
Damn, this guy's good.